Good afternoon. Today is Monday, May the 6th. This Committee of Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Here.
Here.
Conwell.
I'm here.
Kirkstone, Casey,
Present.
Valencia, Santana, Spencer. Present. Mr. Chairman, your report.
Thank you. First, we always hear the guests first, so CMSD, if they could come to the table, the representatives from CMSD. Y'all came with a whole crew today, didn't
Yes, we did.
you? Man. Who at the district? Good to see y'all. All right, first and foremost, this is ordinance number 442-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request and emergency ordinance authorizing the directors of Public Works and Finance to enter into one or more contracts with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District to conduct recreational, cultural, and extracurricular programs for the benefit of school children during the 2023-2024 school year. Who's leading the charge? Is it Ms. Desiree?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.
Well,
Please
I'd like-
speak into the chair and then announce who your committee is.
Okay. My name is Desiree Powell, Executive Director of Athletics and Student Activities for the district.
Trent Mosley, Chief of Equity and Culture for the district.
My name is Nikita Baker, Budget Analyst and Manager of Special Projects for CMSD.
Selena Florence, Chief Academic Officer for CMSD.
Jeffrey Allen, Executive Director of Fine Arts, CMSD.
All right, Ms. Desiree.
Chair, may I defer to Chief Mosley to begin?
Thank you.
Thank you, Desiree. Chair Griffin, you had a number of questions that you wanted to answer, responded back to by 2 o'clock today. We're here with those prepared information that Desiree is passing out right now for you. We will start with an accounting of the programs that our schools service in a number. Desiree will lead that conversation, and then next, the budget questions that came up. Nikita will field those questions as well, provide those responses.
All right.
Okay, thank you. To the chair and to the committee, if you look through the folder from the questions we were asked this morning, you will see 3 distinct packets that show the schools by name and what the school principal has chosen for their school to participate in for 24-25 for next year. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is 442-2024. 442-2024. Please proceed.
So when you look through it, you will see all of the different athletics and student activities that we offer through SEEP and throughout the district. And what we do is we go to each principal and ask, and this is high school and K-8, what they would like to participate in. And based on the SEEP funds, we have a designated amount of money per school, which each school receives per SEEP. And then it covers the cost of the differentials for a coach and for, what else? The coach and, yeah, that's it? Yes. Coach and programming. So if they, for instance, if they wanted to have 4 different activities and the SEEP money only covered 2 out of the 4, they would then go to their school budget and supplement the other 2 that they'd like to have. Okay? I'm not sure if there's any questions on that.
So then there's a max of 5 or 4, because most have about 5 programs in each school, but
Yep.
is it a range or?
Well, for K-8, we offer soccer, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls, well, in K-8, we offer girls volleyball, and you have the option of cheer, high step, chess, and then boys and girls track.
Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking a quick question. There's always been a debate on whether K through 8 schools are the best model, and I know that CMSD. What year did we move from middle schools to K through 8? I think that was.
Superintendent of Barbara Bird Bennett.
So that was about what, 2006,
Six or
about
five.
5 or 6, right?
Yes.
The question that I'm having, and I know that the chief academic officer is here, but were these extracurricular activities funded better when we had middle schools? Or do we see a difference? Because it seems to me like it'd be more expensive to try to cover these through a K through 8 model as opposed to covering them as they probably used to be covered in a middle school model.
There was athletic directors in the previous model when we had middle school separate from elementary. And when they went to K-8, the athletic director positions went away. So now it is strictly between the principal choosing and hiring the coach of their school to coach and do what they would have to do. So the feeding system kind of got lost with the changeover because now it sits on the principal's lap of what they're going to do, and they need that extra support as to what their kids would like and all of that. So
But didn't the athletic director used to have additional duties and had to be a member of the Cleveland Teachers Union?
for high school, we do have that, and that is the case for our high school
But not
athletic directors,
elementary.
but not the middle school or
Middle school,
elementary.
K through 8.
Correct.
Okay, all right, please proceed.
Okay. So if there's no questions on that, because you'll be able to see per school, per your ward, what they have requested. Also in the folder, I must not have, you will find the budget, and I will defer to Nikita Baker to explain the forms that are inside your folder regarding the budget from the questions this morning.
She just passed them out. Can you give Councilman Conwell in the meeting when they were passing them out? There you go. Thank you. All right, please proceed.
To the chair, the CMSD budget that you see in the folder is both the 2023 budget as well as the 2023-24 budget, as well as the 24-25 budget. As we previously stated, the funds that CMSD gives to the athletic department for operating costs, we stated was $2.6 million. It is actually $2.9 million that CMSD gives for operating costs, for non-personnel expenses. The 2024-25 budget that you see in front of you also includes the repair of the Bump Taylor track, which is why you see an increase in that number. However, that is not a figure that we are going to receive every year. So that is why you see the increase of those operating expenses. Additionally, the ESSER funds is what you see on the bottom. ESSER funds we will no longer receive, so that is also why in the 24-25 budget, you do not see that figure at the bottom of that report.
Anything else?
Of the questions, of the questions that were brought before us from this morning, that would be the conclusion.
Okay. All right, just a couple of things that I would like to go to. And so is this mainly covering operational or operational and capital? And could you point out where, I didn't see where that Glenville budget is at. But can you help me understand if this is promoting capital or operational?
This would be for operating expenses. So if you look at the general fund, that is the top section. Anything 400, 500, 600, and 800, all of those are our operating expenses that we were approved for in 23-24. And then the second column, year 25, is for 24-25. And that $3,871,000, that is where the Bump Taylor renovation of the track is.
So what I'm trying to get with is that coming out of this allocation of dollars that we're putting in?
No,
So that's coming from somewhere else?
yes.
Okay. Do you guys have a capital budget just for those type of improvements? I'm going somewhere with this. That's why I asked that.
No, we do not.
Okay. So this is a special revenue fund that was able to help these repairs, or where is those dollars coming from?
Those were, from my understanding, general fund dollars.
Straight general fund?
Yes.
So the district doesn't have a capital budget that focuses strictly on capital?
Not to my knowledge, no.
But I thought we just passed a levy recently around physical improvements. I know Michelle and others, and I don't know if somebody wants to answer that, but I thought we just passed something around some of the physical improvements to building.
Yeah, Chair Griffin, I would look into that and find out, get your actual answer with all those, with additional facts that you're requesting, because I'm not for sure.
Reason I'm asking, because I'm trying to see if I'm looking at this from the right lens. Let me
I
clean
understand.
this up. In the city, we have a capital budget that handles strictly capital projects, and we have special RIT, restricted income tax dollars that can only be used towards capital. Then we have operating dollars that are strictly for personnel. Then when we did our ARPA funding, we did it probably different than what you did with your ESSER funding. We use most of our federal dollars in order to invest in fixed assets for the most part, so that we didn't have a problem with one-time money disappearing and being in this position. Because if I'm looking at this, it looks like you guys are about to take almost a $4 million hit in wages if I'm looking at this from 2024 to 2025. Is that correct?
Yes, based on what we were just told that we were approved for.
So is that going to mean a reduction in some of these services that you have here on this sheet, where you have the different services that you have on this sheet?
No, that will not impact those programs.
Okay. All right. Let me say this. I see the value in us investing in this. I know that we always want to make sure, and I know I work closely with the district around a lot of programs in my ward as well as throughout the city of Cleveland. I would like to, at some point in time, spend some more time with you guys around some investment or understanding how you're making decisions around your investments. Because to me, I think in order for me to operate efficiently and be able to make investments, that I need to be capitalizing on whatever's the overall after school plan and what is the overall scholastic athlete plan, so that I'm not all over the place when I'm making investments. They should be complementary of what you guys are doing in your ecosystem. Yes. So I think at some point in time, it'd be good for us all to have a point person. I know I always call Miss Desiree, but I know she can't handle everybody calling her. But at some point in time, if you guys, whether it's Ms. Pomerantz or somebody, if we can make sure we have an inroad to be able to discuss how we can complement things. Because people come to us every day for social service dollars. And the first thing I want to know is, what are you aligned with? Am I maximizing dollars, or am I just throwing money to stand up a program that's going to pretty much be in the deficit and not be functional in about 1 or 2 years? So that's the reason I'm asking some of these questions, so you can know. Okay?
And Chair Griffin, and we do have a capital budget. I do not know the exact number. I do know we run it through, I think it's an issue $4.
Yeah, that's, I was about to say, I thought I'd
Yeah. So you're,
endorse or voted for something like
You
that,
did.
Michelle. I thought my vote counted, but
I just don't know the exact number.
okay, got you. All right, I have Councilman Conwell, Polisic Casey.
In here, I can't beat you guys up too much. I talk with
I'll come back.
Jeff Allen all the time, and I personally sit in with the marching bands at the schools. I was with Marshall marching band, I think about, what was that, like a month ago, sitting in with them, and you and I, we sit down with coffee and we discuss the arts. That's very, very important to me. Switching gears over here, I heard the president mention about Glenville. We switch back over to Desiree, right? Mm-hmm. Where my shirt at, number one? Glenville. You got back to back. You hooked me up. You hooked me up with the other shirts, you know, and I know who you related to. Also, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you related to. I already told Anthony Harrison. Then that. I need my shirt also.
Okay.
Back, Glenville. You have some over there?
We didn't get shirts, but we're going to have a pep rally, but we will have shirts at the pep rally, so I'll make sure everyone gets a shirt.
What is the prep rally? I want this guy to come.
It's
He's the number one Glenville fan.
Thursday, May 16th at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be celebrating both the back-to-back champs of football, back-to-back champs of track, and back-to-back champs of cheerleading.
Come to Council President.
I beat all of them. I ain't got no choice but to be there for several reasons.
We're bringing down John Hay, the Council President, and I, because they want to send it, the girls, basketball.
Girls
team.
basketball.
So they're coming down with Sleepy, the coach, next Monday at 7 p.m. We're going to honor John Hay, and we purchase uniforms, the Council President and I, for John Hay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so we knocked that out for the girls. And as soon as we purchased the uniforms, they went and won the Senate. So we feel real good. We know about that kind of stuff. So we're involved.
Good.
Through the chair with Glenville track, because Coach Ginn asked me about the track field already, but if you guys are going to pay for it, I want to hear it.
We just found out today that our budget that we submitted got approved, and the extra money we just got approved is going to the track, to redo the surface of the track at Bump Taylor.
It's real bad. I was through the chair to Desiree. I was at Glenville. I was at Ginn 3 weeks ago. Kids love him. I have to say this about Ginn and the football program with him. People think that he's teaching football, but he's teaching good character. And I saw him with a lot of the young African-American males. They were just looking at Ginn and the other coaches as father figures, and they were paying attention. And I sit back and I listened to him. Coach Ginn was teaching character, honesty, credibility, integrity, those kind of things, self-esteem, character that we used to teach in the schools. So I'm very, very proud of Ginn. Thank you guys for the track field. That was on my to-do list, and so it's scratched off. I do need my shirts.
You get him.
This there. I wanted to beat Allen up, but I can't because I talked to him. We meet at the coffee shop. And we talk about the arts. Let me tell you this, Mr. President. Not just Glenville, but I'm talking about the arts and the Cleveland School of the Arts, John Marshall, all of that, and that they need instruments, the whole 9 yards. And Jeff Allen can attest to that. We don't just talk about Glenville. We talk about children. Everywhere, children, that's true. And even with Marshall, we was talking about Marshall, and they went and got some dollars for the kids to go down to Washington, D.C. to represent the city of Cleveland with that great band from Marshall. And Jeff Allen, he called me up, and we found some dollars, and we pushed it, you know, so I
Thank you.
I appreciate that. So I know the work that you guys are doing. I visit the schools, you're doing a good job, so you got no complaints from me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you. I apologize. I know I jumped a little bit ahead of myself. I usually always start out with the chair of municipal services. So Councilman Bishop, this was heard in municipal services. Did you have any comments?
Yes, Mr. President. We vetted this morning, and we fully recommend it for passage.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Bishop. Now I have Councilman Polincic, Casey, Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and those that are here from CMSD. On the handout that we were given as it pertains to the K through 8, you indicated that each principal was able to check off or indicate what extracurricular activity they were going to support or endorse or whatever the process was. Was there a dollar amount assigned to each school?
Yes, the dollar amount is assigned based on the enrollment of the school, which
Okay.
then tells them how much money they have and they can determine.
Okay, so then as I'm looking at this, and I wish, you know, there would have been another column for enrollment, because I'm looking like at East Clark, there's only 2 programs there. I'm looking at Hannah Gibbons, there's only 3. And I'm looking at Memorial, only 2 programs. Again, O.H. Perry, only 3 programs. And Memorial's got a large student population. So can somebody explain to me how can a school the size of Memorial only wind up with 3 programs?
There could be, to Chair, to Council, there could be a reason, there are some schools, some principals, because of the busing situation and the time frame of athletics and student activities, some principals do not want to lose instructional time, and some have chosen not to participate in certain things because they don't want them to leave early in some cases. Every school did get funding, however, so whatever they did choose, they all had funding for. And then, like I said earlier, if they wanted something in addition, they could use their school-based budget money to supplement what they did not get out of SEEP funds.
So you would be able to tell us for each of those K through 8s the actual dollar amount that went to each school?
Yes.
Okay, I would make that request through the chair to CMSD. And then, because on some of this stuff, I just don't, for the life of me, I don't understand, quite frankly. Things that I took for granted when I was in CMSD, man, they are long gone. Now, the high schools, same thing, dollar amount per high school?
Each high school, based on when SEEP started in 1996, the Senate high schools that have football receive $10,000, and the schools that do not have football that are in the Senate receive $6,000, and that's all they receive from SEEP funds.
So that's all they get. So like in the case with Glenville, they would just get 10,000.
Correct.
Collinwood, 10,000.
Correct.
Then on the back page here, it says swimming. Where do the kids at John Marshall, Lincoln West, and Max Hayes swim at?
We use the recreation centers, Cadell in particular.
Okay. Do any of the schools have pools? High schools have pools.
We have pools, but they're not functioning.
Which schools have pools that are not functioning?
I believe, I just took a tour the other day. I believe it's Lincoln West, and I believe it's Collinwood.
So out of all CMSD, there's only 2 high schools that have pools.
Correct. We have a pool at East Professional Center, and I had a tour because there are people on the outside that are looking to see if they can raise funds to at least get that pool up and running.
Okay. Is there a reason why the pools have not been repaired?
I can't answer to that.
I mean, you are
Chair,
the athletic director, correct?
Yes, but that's not from my budget, so.
Okay, so somebody can tell me why the pools have not been repaired.
Chair, to Councilman Palencia, do not have an answer for you today, but we will definitely research it and get it to you. And then also,
It's the magical mystery question. We have pools, but they're closed. So our kids are denied access to, first of all, swimming programs, but the opportunity to maybe get scholarships to go on to college versus our suburban counterpart kids. I mean, I think the whole issue of capital repair is one at some point we're going to have to drill down on, because there's no excuse for a pool to be closed and our kids denied that opportunity. It's I'm beyond it at this point. And we're hearing all these issues about you folks maybe coming to us at some time in the near future for a school levy. I got to tell you, man, there's a lot of us around here that are not happy with the condition of our buildings, the lack of programming, lack of extracurricular activities, lack of vocational technical programs. I mean, we are providing funding, and yet I look at my tax bill, my property tax bill at home, and the majority of my tax bill goes to CMSD, and yet I've got pools that are sitting empty. Mr. Chairman, at some point the rubber's going to meet the road here. It's going to meet the road very shortly, because a lot of us are not happy with the things that our kids are being denied. your budget is almost, maybe, I think might be even larger than the city of Cleveland, or it's close to the city of Cleveland's annual budget, and yet we can't, we can't get buildings fixed, we can't get this repaired, et cetera, and programming, I'm looking at this programming in these high schools. Something's got to give here. Something's got to give here. And you wonder why we've lost as many families as we have out of the east side, who pull their kids out and put them either in charter schools or have moved out of the city on the east side. It's these documents speak for themselves. So I'll leave it at that. I'd like, and I'm making that request, Mr. Chairman, on the K through 8s, the dollar amount per the schools, and also I'd like the population, student population of each of those schools. Mr. Chairman, I'll ask that officially through the chair.
Mr. Titron, do you have those two requests? Yes. All right, can I get clarification also on when you say that each school had a dollar amount? Is it a dollar amount per pupil or a dollar amount
Dollar amount per pupil.
estimated? So what is the dollar amount per pupil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Then-
The dollar amount per pupil is $37.50
$37.50
per pupil.
per pupil.
And then Chairman Griffin,
Councilman Polinsik, would you allow?
Yes.
Councilman Conwell, just on that point.
When you say $37 to the chair, you talking per week or per month, or is that just the total budget, $37? What if you only have 200 kids or 250 children?
I'm going to say that I believe that it is the $37.50 figure. We can definitely research and give you the exact number.
So that's per child for the
Per-
school year?
Yes,
Wow.
from SEEP funds.
From what?
That SEEP, from SEEP funds.
Can't do nothing with that. I'm always giving money to the chair, and I'll close down to my schools. They always come to me. FDR, Stephanie Tubb Jones, Glenville, Councilman, and Anthony Harrison as well as Councilmember Mike Polinsik. We're constantly giving. I mean, it's our children anyway. I mean, thousands of dollars. Yep. The interest we over here whispering about now, we always dropping thousands. But with that $37, you can't do nothing with that. Do the chair? Yeah, I mean, for that, man, because they come and ask us. Oh, I'm going out because, I mean, I don't care. We get the money, but, you know, even for this right here, because they need something to augment it for what they need. And so we just get $1 for it.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Okay,
to the
proceed.
chair, to Councilman Polinsik, just a point of clarity, I thought I heard you for a third ask, and what you asked for, you want to know why pools were not being rebuilt. Is that the case?
Not being repaired.
Got it.
Tell us how long they've been closed on each of the three facilities.
Understood.
Thank you.
And by the way, John Hay also has a pool as well. So there's, I mean, want to make sure that we get accurate of who all has pools, and to Councilman Polinsik's point.
Is the pool operational at John Hay?
No,
See?
but it's my understanding, once again, this is from years of me being around this system. Back in 2012, it was my understanding that they had some concerns around insurance and other things because of the costs that were associated with risk. And that led to some of the other things. So I don't think it was just about the repairs needed, but once again, I don't want to be the official spokesperson for that. If you can answer his official request on what led to the decisions to shut down those pools, because what happens is if you go to areas like Fairfax and we have students that go there, or if you have areas like some of these other places, even Gunning, where their pool may be down, then you're looking at, we may have other challenges around extracurricular. And I'm trying to tap into a theme here that we all need to be on the same page of providing outlets for children. And we kind of need to be complimenting each other and communicating with each other to make that happen.
Council, Sunbeam has a pool, yes. The K-8, 1K8 has a pool.
I should know that. That's right across the street from my house.
I just wanted to mention, one positive part of that is the fact that we are partnered and collaborating with the YMCA. They approached us, and we're instituting a district-wide Learn to Swim for all fourth graders. We've been piloting it the last 2 months, and I have about 48 K-8 principals that would like to see that added to the programming for their school next year. So we are trying to get them in the pool to actually learn how to swim at an early age.
And I'm gonna get off of my soapbox after this, but I think that, you know, the statistics show that African-American children, which we have a large African-American city and Hispanic city, that children of color oftentimes are the largest victims of drowning because nobody ever teaches them how to swim, us how to swim.
And each of the students get a swimsuit and a traveling bag.
So that's why it's
they're getting the
critical
whole
for me,
package.
and you will hear me and others advocating because, you know, this precious granddaughter that I just have, one of the first things that I want to do is enroll her in swim lessons because I just don't think enough children, especially children of color, don't have enough opportunities to learn how to swim. Some just jump in the pool and start going at it. Okay? So, thank you. I have Councilman Casey Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, I think it's something we learned this morning that was very knowledgeable was we're just funding the SEEP program, right? And it has nothing to do with general fund dollars from CMSD or anything like that. So if we don't fund this, then this whole program will probably most likely, I'm not a representative of CMSD, will most likely probably just go away. So when we're talking about general fund dollars around the table and all that other stuff, we need to differentiate those from the legislation that's here today. But Mr. Chairman, to our guests, once you left this morning, and we can agree that everybody's here for the kids, right? And it's all about providing resources for the kids and everything. So once you guys left this morning, we heard another piece of legislation, 328-2024, which we're going to hear later on today, regarding the Neighborhood Leadership Institute, which is an organization that provides schools as a neighborhood resource in areas of the city where we don't have many rec centers. And it's a great program. Throughout the conversation, Mr. Chairman, to our friends at the table, we had learned that we're giving them $289,500, but of that money, $77,000 of it is going to CMSD for rent, so that you can open, so that the schools can be open. If we're here being collaborative, right, and we're not going to solve this problem this year, but it definitely needs to be solved for next year, that if we have another organization that we're providing taxpayers' dollars to, and it's going, the majority of those resources are going to CMSD kids for after-school resources, I really do believe that CMSD probably needs to work with Neighborhood Leadership Institute in order to collaborate so that they're not paying more than almost a third of the dollars that we're giving them to rent to CMSD, and then CMSD is here looking for $950,000 from us. It just doesn't seem, something's not jiving here, right? So we would definitely, going forward, Mr. Chairman, like to see schools as a neighborhood resource be more of a partner with Neighborhood Leadership Institute in order to still continue to provide these services for kids and these are things that happen after school, they happen on the weekends. I don't want to get into contracts and all that other stuff. If we're really here to figure it out for the kids, let's just figure it out, right? Somebody shouldn't come to us looking for a dollar amount, and a third of their dollar amount goes to CMSD for rent when CMSD is turning around and coming to us for, 3 times the amount of money that they're getting. In addition to that, Mr. Chairman, I do believe, and I know that this has always been through Public Works, but when we first passed this legislation back in '95, there wasn't a Prevention, Intervention, and Youth Opportunity Office either. So I think we as a council and the administration need to also get together and look at where's the best place for these dollars to come from, and who's the best entity within the city to actually be overseeing this. And I love the fact that it's in Public Works, because we get to talk about it, right? But, you know, we also have youth development and all that other stuff that wasn't around when this legislation was passed. So we need to just take a deeper dive into, you know, where you could be collaborating better and what committees, you know, and individuals that you can, that would be a good resource for you as well. With that being said, you know, I just wanted to make that known that, you know, we're giving an entity some dollars too that you guys are charging rent for. Some of us thought maybe we should reduce your budget by $77,000 and then add $77,000 to their budget just to offset the fact that you guys are charging them rent. Again, that's not something that we would figure out today at the table, but you know, it could be a thought going forward. And no, I don't think anybody wants to do that, but let's just learn to put you guys in connection with Neighborhood Leadership Institute, who are using your facilities to provide the services for the kids of the city of Cleveland, so that we're all on the same page going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. First of all, Councilman, I want to say you bring up some good points, and actually what you're bringing up is a broader conversation that I hope that this council has some days is how do we complement each other's programs? You have thousands upon thousands of youth-facing organizations that are supposed to be helping everybody from birth all the way through 24. And these programs and these things are not always aligned with each other. And it should be a seamless kind of menu of options for young people to be able to choose from, because there's no shortage of private, philanthropic, and public dollars going towards youth services that are supposed to be in place. But I do want to give some context to what you said, because you bring up a very good point. I'm glad that you guys didn't move to try to replace that $77,000, because I'm very familiar. I used to be one of the founders of Neighborhood Leadership Institute, and the reason that that price is jacked up so high is because, and you hit it on the nose, you actually been doing your research, Councilman, is because union contracts demand that the janitors that have to be in place that get a mandatory 4-hour pay at a certain rate, you have to pay that. And there's no way around that, because that's what they negotiate in their union contract. So even if CMSD wanted to work something out, they would literally have to work something out with them janitors and the unions, because quite frankly, in their contract, they're entitled to a certain amount for that janitor and security and certain other things that you may need. Because I have actually one of those programs at Sunbeam across the street. Then I wanted to allude to Sunbeam. The reason that they have a pool is because it's a therapy pool.
Correct.
And there are, I think that's the only one that has a therapeutic program, so they have to have a pool, because that's how they actually do some of the therapeutic programs around some of the children. So it's not necessarily like just this open public pool.
Right.
It's actually something for children with disabilities.
And I'm sorry, to Chair, they're also taking them to the Y, because the principal and the children from Sunbeam are in our pilot program at the Y, so they are swimming there as well.
Gotcha. Councilman, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, our friends at Neighborhood Leadership Institute are in the back, too.
Yeah.
So if
They'll be
you guys could somehow, before you leave, make contact back there with them so that we can start this collaboration. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I have Councilman Anthony Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to continue along that line of question through the chair to the team here, can't you all just cover the costs paying the janitor while Neighborhood Leadership Institute is in the building?
To the chair, to the council, it's not from our department, but we could take that back and find out if the other department could do such
I see
thing.
Chief here, and I see Chief of Staff is here. So I would, you know, if the top leadership team will be able to provide an answer to that, you know, why can't you all cover their time in the building that they are providing services, youth services to the community?
I can't provide an answer to that. I'm not sure who they're currently partnering with, but we can definitely have a conversation to find out more about the Neighborhood Leadership Institute and determine if we can possibly cover that cost.
Gotcha. We have a list here of the schools that they are operating programs at Collinwood, Elmira. It's like maybe 8 schools? 6 schools. And so we'll get that list from them to share with you all. And I would encourage you all, as Councilman Casey indicated, to chat with them, because they are providing a tremendous a service for our community, for those communities that does not have rec centers. Those young people and families, because the ages, I think, 10 to 65, all ages can attend these schools for these summer sessions and these year-round with November through March sessions that they provide for programming. They do more than just have the gym open. They actually do provide particular programming for them at that location. So, we really need to find a way for the City of Cleveland, CMSD, and Neighborhood Leadership Institute to work together, so that way folks are not paying almost $100,000 for after hours janitorial services to keep the building open. And I get why it's done like that, the negotiating, all that. I understand that, but I also know that just like here, if we can allow our building to be open for free, no charge anybody, and we just eat that cost to, pay the folks overtime to be here, like we do other facilities. So just a thought here, all right? And next, Mr. Chair, to the team, it really isn't for CMSD, it's to our law department. I asked Mr. Griffin to turn in because someone's gonna have to tell this body why we can fund transportation for the school district, why we can fund equipment, why we can fund these other activities for the school district, and we cannot fund these types of activities for other applicants who come and seek support from this body. Whether we allocate it from our personal discretionary, not personal, but our ward-based discretionary funds, or whether we allocate the funds from the larger pool of general fund dollars, is all the same dollars. I don't care whether the casino funding comes from the state of Ohio, that's just a pass-through, right? And the dollars are then deposited into our general fund, which, as we were told, that is the case. I know law department is here. I see members of the administration here as well. We have to figure this out. That what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? And if it's okay on one end, it's okay on the other end. And so before my vote tonight, I want an explanation from law department. I know other members of this body wants an explanation as well. Councilman Polenzek and I just received requests to support a school in our ward for support they need for activity they have coming up. Kenneth Clemens asked me for support for their bus trip for their college tour, right? Happy to give them funds from the City of Cleveland General Fund dollars, right? But we can't do that because of liability. Well, CMSD is different. Well, what's the difference? Liability is liability. If you assume it, you assume it, no matter who you are, no matter what the entity is. And Kenneth Clemens is a CMSD school, right, who is an excellent school that we want to support at all costs, right? So there's young people at, what 8th grader or 7th grader looking to go visit a college? Come on now. That means that leadership of that school is doing something right. Their minds are in the right places, right? Support them every way we can. And so for the law department in this building to say that it is not okay to use those, you can't use those funds because of liability, that's a problem. If we're going to use this money to help the schools that you listed here and the activities that they're providing, then we should be able to use these dollars to help other schools that may not be benefiting from these dollars or at the particular need that they have versus what is outlined here in this plan that's here. So, hope the law department is listening. I asked Mr. Griffin to tune in. And so before I vote tonight, and there's a number of other members are looking for the same answer before they vote tonight, because that's an issue. We want to support more schools, right? And we need to find a way to do that in addition. So those are my thoughts. Happy to support this piece, fully support our kids. Athletic department doing a wonderful job, including other staff, leadership at the district as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harris. They're great points. And if we could make sure to get that information, it would be great. The hard part about these different bureaucracies is everybody got their own bureaucracy that they stand up. And I think what Councilman Harrison is saying is that we all want to be helpful. And I think what Councilman Casey and everybody is saying, we just need things to be aligned because we don't have the funding source. As you see, you're about to cut almost $4 million. We're not going to have the funding capacity to do everything, so we need to be as streamlined as possible. And when people are coming up to us with duplicative asks, and we're paying for a program, but then that same program, we also got to pay the programming and other things, it doesn't jive. So that's what the frustration you see on this end, okay? All right, seeing no other questions, once again, please get that information from the administration. 442-2024 stands approved and will be considered by the full body tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council.
And keep in mind, please make sure they get that information, or Ms. Pomeranz, can you make sure they get that opinion, because there probably will be a couple of no votes if we don't get that information.
We'll get it squared away.
Thank you. All right, we're going to stay on that thing with Neighborhood Leadership Institute, and I call this the lightning round, ladies and gentlemen, because we pretty much vetted this already. So just whatever we need to do to polish it up, let's keep it moving. This is ordinance number 328-2024, as amended by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into an agreement with the Neighborhood Leadership Institute to implement educational, recreational, and cultural programs in various school buildings and other facilities during evening hours, provide leadership training, and oversee the summer tennis program. As amended, and I'll read the amendment. The amendment states that there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. In Section 1, Line 5, strike $430,448.75 and insert $289,500. This was dated 5/6/2024 by Vishnu Gagliani, Assistant Director of Law. Please introduce our guests and please move forward.
Thank you, Council President. Actually, Commissioner Gissentan, I'm going to actually have him introduce our guest, which I'm pretty sure you're probably familiar with.
Through the chair to the committee, with me today is Travell Harp. He's Executive Director of Neighborhood Leadership Institute.
Thank you. All right, please proceed. Have any questions or anything you want to offer before we go into lines of questions? Mr. Harp, any opening statements before we go into lines of questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank this council for its consideration and support. Some of the things that I was transparent. So this is my first complete year. My anniversary was April 3rd, and so I'm real happy to be here and part of this team and working to better the lives of Cleveland residents. We had submitted a budget or an ask that's a little bit more than what's typical. Just because we had experienced some increase in cost and not all the funding that we had originally. In other words, we didn't have supplemental funding to actually help support this work because we used to get CDBG dollars along with this as well. Some of the things that sort of like increased with the budget is number one. So typically, the schools, Cleveland Metropolitan School District, they've been really good partners in prior years. It just so happened the year that I
Please, is the microphone on?
Yeah, it's on.
There it is.
Okay.
It just so happened that the year that I got here, I got a call from the security union, and basically they and what we typically did before, we were paying everybody across the board like $11.25 an hour, and then I think we paid security $15 an hour. And they did it because, they liked the program and they just wanted to do support, but their labor union would not allow them to work for that amount. And basically they said that in order to have security there, the price increased from $15 an hour to $50 an hour. And we know that, like, just in the context of what's happening in Cleveland and across the country, we need security at these different sites. And so when you look at that cost, the security costs in prior years would have been around like $11,520, and that increased to $38,400 and everything. So that's a significant increase for us. In addition to that, I'm looking at other costs and everything. And like I said, we still have the invoice out, waiting to see if there's going to be an amendment to it. But there was a question asked in the committee meeting early on as far as like how much do we pay for rental space. And so it's actually $77,249 that we got invoiced for this year for SNR between November to March. And then for Summer Collinwood, which is June through July, it's the bill that we have right now is $13,865. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to negotiate that to get it lower, but as of right now, we haven't gotten a different invoice. And so that significantly increased the cost of us providing services. And then the final thing is that, within this program, the SNR in Summer Collinwood, which is an extension of SNR in Collinwood during the summertime, and then summer tennis, particularly, let's stay with SNR, we
basically employ residents. I guess the philosophy around SNR is to understand that people in community are active participants in own deliverance. They have the ability to be able to like solve their own problems in a lot of ways and everything. And so Neighborhood Leadership Institute puts them in a position and provides a platform for them to be able to provide that creative wisdom to invest back in their community. And so we don't just ask them to do that, we pay them. But but when was the last time you've heard of somebody making $11.25 an hour and everything? And so one of the things that in this discussion with residents about just getting feedback from them, one of the things that they wanted to increase. And a lot of this program is like over 30 years old, and it's been the same dollar amount for I can imagine for that time period. And so I felt like it was appropriate while we're asking for the support for this to actually up them to $15 an hour. And so that right there sort of like in itself represents a lot of the increase that you see versus prior years. If we go back to the rate that we had before, I think it's the $289. We will, like I said, we will have to significantly reduce the program offerings in our activity just because me being fiscally responsible for Neighborhood Leadership Institute, I have to make sure that the organization stays solvent and that we don't spend more than we take in. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And I take it that the 289, that's what you guys, or let me make sure that I'm understanding this. So you originally asked for 430,000.
That's correct.
But what council has agreed to and went through Public Works is 289, right?
That's correct.
All right, Councilman Bishop, did you have any input?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The support that this council gave, that the body gave the leadership in the prior years was $289,000. So we amended the piece of legislation to reflect what we have all historically given to this institution, and we fully recommend it for passage.
Okay, and I really rely on my committee to kind of make those kind of tough decisions, and I just want to make sure that I understood, the reasoning why what they did. So we'll go from there. I don't have any other questions. Does anybody have any questions for ordinance number 328-2024 as amended? All right, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 328-2024 stands approved as amended. I will ask Mr. Harp that once you have a meeting with the district, probably should follow up with with Commissioner Gissentanner and the Public Works folks, so that we can think about what else we can do to add and support and do whatever else we can to be supportive. I think everybody wants to support your programs. Just for the listening public, the reason why these programs were put in place is because we used to have gaps. Like we had a new rec center in Collinwood. However, in the part of Collinwood, on the south side of Collinwood, there was not always access. Just like in the upper part around Sunbeam, there's a lot of children in that area, but there's not always a rec center within close proximity. So these were put in place to try to fill the gaps of where there really are not traditional rec centers. And I've been around, I'm dating myself, but I was around when the inception of this, when Mike Matthews and others were working with this. So once again, I understand the value, but we also got to be fiscally responsible. So once you had that meeting with the district, then we'll figure out what we need to do as we think about and assess this later, okay? And what we need to do is make sure we had that conversation in advance so that we're not trying to figure it out at the table, okay? All right, thank you. Councilman Polinsky.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, obviously I support the initiative and program and the additional funding, but if you can supply us, if there's a brochure, if there's a flyer, something you can provide to us that we can get into our newsletters, because I'd like to really see the tennis program. I'd like to see the tennis program expanded on the east side, and in some of the west side neighborhoods here as well. I mean, we need to get the word out that these programs are available for our kids. So whatever you can provide to us or to our council staff where we can get in our newsletters, we're greatly appreciative.
All right, thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 328-2024 stands approved. Keep up the good work. Thank you. All right, we're going to stay on Public Works and knock this out. Next up is 306-2024, by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request.
We have,
You have guests? Okay, bring them in. Who is it? This is Case? Okay, bring Case up then. Coach, Case, if you guys can come up. All right, this is ordinance number 308-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin, Hairston, Starr, by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into one or more contracts with Case Western Reserve University to provide a youth summer sports, nutrition, health, and life skills development program for 2024 under the National Youth Sports Program supported by Case Western Reserve University.
thank you, Council President. I'm going to hand it over to Commissioner Gibson Tanner to introduce our guest.
To the chair, to the body, who I have with me is Dennis Coach Harris. This is one of the great programs in the City of Cleveland Division of Recreation, NYSP. Dennis is here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Before I go, just a couple of questions. Coach, how long have you been doing this?
I started at the university in 1982. This will make, yes, I'm old. Started in 1982, right out teaching in Cleveland. This will make, oh gosh, 42 years at Case Western Reserve. I started running this program in 1988.
Awesome. Wow. Coach has done some phenomenal things. And just out of a show of hands, how many people in this, at this table, children went to Coach's Harris's program?
Oh,
Just a show of hands, Councilman Bishop, did your children or didn't your son go to Coach Harris's program?
My nephew.
Okay, so the point being told, I can almost tell you it ain't a person in this city that hasn't benefited from NYSP. And it's one of the best programs that we've seen. I know every year we always go to visit. I would really encourage all of my colleagues to make arrangements with Coach Harris. He runs a very well-structured program, and it's an oasis because a lot of these children don't get an opportunity to have access to Case.
That's right.
And all of its accoutrements that it has. So, great job, Coach. I don't have anything to say but praise for the program. I try to go to everything that you guys do. So, I don't have any questions. Councilman Bishop, did you have any questions, or did Public Works have any questions for us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we fully support this program. We are very pleased with the program so far, and we applaud Coach Harris and all his efforts. And I look forward to that picnic at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'll be there too. That's a good thing, good time. I want to say this before I close, and I don't often do this, but I got to say this. We had a former councilman, and I know that he got into a little bit of trouble, and Councilman Ken Johnson. But Ken really went out and went above and beyond to try to make sure that this program got in place. And the reason that I want to make sure that I mention that is because a lot of people in public service sometimes look at, that one thing that you do that everybody wants to hold you accountable for, but they don't look at the 100 things that you might have done in order to do things the right way. And what I would tell you is that he really went to bat and lobbied for this program, and this program has produced ever since. I just feel important to say that because we oftentimes throw people away because of mistakes, but I don't do that. I think that man really lobbied for this program, and he deserves to be acknowledged for that.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number, what is that, Mike? 308-2024 stands approved. Thank you. Thanks, Coach. And please make sure that you let everybody know, because we all want to make sure we're there to support you as well.
July the 12th.
Put that in. I know cornerback, cornerback.
Wide receiver.
JFK,
Wide receiver.
JFK and Ohio State.
I didn't play at JFK. I ran track. I was the only one to make the team. Didn't play football in high school, but made at Ohio State.
There it is.
It's our 45th anniversary of our undefeated team.
And he's a great resident of the Ward 2, Councilman Kevin Bishop.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All my business.
Bring him up. All right, what number is it?
That's 309.
309? All right, thank you. All right. Joe Record. Another one of the legacy programs in the city of Cleveland. Ordinance number 309-2024 by council members Bishop and Hairston, Bishop Griffin, and Harrison by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into a contract with Northeast Ohio Muni Football League, a.k.a. Cleveland Municipal Football Association, DBA, Cleveland Muni Football League, to conduct a citywide youth football program. Please share who you have at the table with you.
Thank you, Council President. I believe this man needs no introduction, but we have Joe Record here from Muni Football. And I'll let Commissioner Gibson Tanner, if you want to take it.
Through the chair to the committee, again, this is another great program in the city of Cleveland. I don't know how many years back Muni Football has been in operation, but I know I participated at the old East End Cowboys at that time, and I was playing for them. So another great program for our children in the city of Cleveland. Mr. Record will answer any questions you may have.
All right, Mr. Record, another program that all my children participated in the city of Cleveland, so please proceed.
Okay, this is, I believe, 105th year. It's my 30th year. This year, we started off the first week of April with our flag football. This is our 3rd year, and we introduced football for girls. I'm sorry, flag football for girls this year. We're starting at the age of 10 to 17. So far, we have 6 female teams playing, and we will increase those numbers as we go on. For boys flag football, we have 115 teams. We're going into our 3rd week this weekend. And so far, the program has been a real success. And talking to our director, Jason Dunn, who could not make it, I apologize for that work. He's looking at doubling the numbers next year. So there's a whole lot of interest in playing flag football in the city. We have 3,000 plus playing tackle football. That program will start the first week in June, and we're in November. So really, we're doing football for 9 months out of the year, some sort of football, if it's tackle or flag. We also are extending our programs with tutoring services, and we're talking to another group of family services to help us with the kids and the parents. So other than that, the chair to the council, most of you guys have played Muni football, so you know our program's been around 105 years, so everyone pretty much knows the program. So,
Well, first of all, I'm a big fan of Muni football. I know we had the best quarterback that at the table right here across the table from us. Him and Bishop played together. But bottom line is we know how important it is. It saves lives. And like I said, all my children play. I do just have a couple of questions. The one thing that bothers me about Cleveland football is that it almost has, when you look at the feeder systems of the suburban communities, their high school coaches literally team up with their little league coaches so that by the time they're in high school, when you have your mentors and your Avons and some of these other folks, I'm hearing stories like they start them kids out in their program when they're young in Muni, and then by the time that they get to high school, there's already expectations. I know that Ginn does that, but do we have any of that kind of succession strategy or trying to get people matriculate into their high school programs so that we can make sure that them kids get into school?
Well, if you take a look at Ginn program, about 90% of those kids are Muni kids.
Absolutely.
So our kids are going everywhere. If you attend our games, you see the private schools all over Northeast Ohio recruiting our kids. Okay. As far as the feeder program, that's up to the high schools to come out and recruit the kids. We have all the information they need to contact the kids and their parents. I believe we have open enrollment now, so the kids could go just about anywhere. We're working with the schools to assist them in any way they can. So I will be talking with Desiree Powell, the athletic director for the district, to talk about that.
Right, and just to follow up, and I'm at the games. I'm like the fan of Muni League. To me, I'd rather be there in high school football than to go down and watch the game across the street here. What I will tell you is that those private schools and some of these other schools, they only go get the elites. They only get the fastest, strongest, biggest players. What I'm saying is, how do we develop and start to try to get better at developing teams? And I just think that that's been our downfall as city high schools. And it's not your issue. It's our high school coaches need to be camped out at those fields saying, here's what our program, here's what we're teaching our kids, and keeping kids in almost a year-round strategy around that. And it's my dream to see that one day, because I just think that so many other people are successful in their programs with less talented kids because they build that concept earlier, and those kids come up until they graduate from the time that they're 6 or 8 years old. So it'd be great to see, even if we modeled it somewhere, it just would be great to see. Just my pet peeve, okay? The other thing that I wanted to ask, how does this budget support the cheerleaders? A lot of times we forget about our ladies, and those cheerleaders are just as important to the process as these guys. So,
The cheerleaders are in the budget.
okay, good. Just wanted to make sure that we're not leaving the ladies behind because that's important as well, okay?
Yes, sir.
And that's important for the public to know that we're not just supporting that, because a lot of times when people want increases, I'm like, okay, what about the ladies? What about baseball? What about soccer? What about everything?
Yeah.
So just
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
that in mind, because we get asked to fund everything, and I just want to make sure that we are measured in how we approach it and that we're fair, okay? Okay, Mike Polensik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, and to the folks at the table. I just wanted to, if you could touch again on the numbers. How many actual helmeted football, how many kids are playing in it right now? How many kids? I'm sorry. In helmeted. In tackle football? Yeah. Last year, I believe we had around 25 to 2,700 players. 25 to 2,700 kids. Of the flag, how many in flag? Flag, this year flag, we have 1,300. Okay, so does the child or the parents decide helmeted or flag? I mean, who makes that decision? I'm sorry. Who makes the decision whether you play helmeted or you play flag? I'm still missing. I'm having a problem.
Who makes the decision on that child whether they play flag or tackle?
Tackle. That's up to the parent. If the kids go play flag or tackle. Sorry. Okay. And so then on the so you said 1,500 flag. 1,500 flag. Said around 1,300, 1,400 in that range. And then and then how many in the cheerleader program? Cheerleaders, it's about 600 in the cheerleading program. Okay. Okay, and is there a flag football for girls? Yes, we just started flag this year. Right now, we're playing with about 6 teams, and we look to grow that. And the age is between, I believe, 10 to 17, 18. Okay, girls flag, okay. So, and the other question I have, as it pertains to helmets, how often do you upgrade the helmets for the kids? Helmets, the life of a helmet is 10 years. We have to recondition that helmet every 2 years. Okay. And that's at a cost of anywhere between $34 to $36 per helmet. Per helmet. Every 2 years. Okay. Okay, a new helmet costs $175, and that's something that we can't shortcut, because if we have a head injury, the first thing the insurance company want to see is that helmet to make sure that that helmet is certified. Yeah, I myself, football was the one sport I truly loved when I was in high school. where I lived on the wrong side of the tracks. We didn't have a muni program where I lived as a kid. But football was something that I enjoyed greatly. But I want to make sure that the kids are properly equipped from a standpoint of safety, from a standpoint of equipment and helmets, especially helmets. Now, the other question I want to ask, and whoever can answer, so the total cost of this program is how much?
The total cost is north of $400,000.
$400,000. And you're requesting out of the city how much?
$160,000.
Okay, so the rest comes from donations.
That's correct.
Okay. How much do the Browns contribute?
Yeah, you gotta answer that at the table. You gotta answer that.
$30,000.
$30,000.
Yes, sir.
$30,000.
Yes, sir.
Ain't that big of them? $30,000. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
No, I'm not, sir.
$30,000 for a muni football program that services our kids in the city of Cleveland when we've given them millions and millions of dollars, and they can only come up with $30,000 to support muni football.
Yes, sir.
They ought to be embarrassed. They ought to be totally embarrassed. When we pay everything down there, we pay for everything down there, and we get a whooping $250,000 amount of a year for rent. And they can't support a program that's as critical as this to help our kids. You know, team sports are important. I tell people all the time, Collinwood High School saved me. It was the athletic programs, it was the extracurricular, it was the vocational and technical program. It's from a poor kid being raised by a poor mother. It was those programs and initiatives at that school that saved me, kept me on a path, unfortunately, where some of my other friends went the wrong path. And the corporate community has got to understand today, in 2024, if we're going to save kids, if we're going to provide opportunities for them, they got to step up to the plate and with their fat checkbooks, write some checks.
Yes, sir.
Write some checks. I mean, I hope all my colleagues remember this discussion today, because we're going to have some people coming out to us with their hands out, asking for stuff out of us constantly, but they can't come up, $30,000. My goodness. I mean, how embarrassing. How embarrassing. I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman. I support this program. I think it's important for our kids, and it's tragic that the corporate community don't step up and support it. Thank you.
Mr. Record.
Chair to Councilman, one thing I'll omit here was this past year we did get 100 helmets from the Browns.
How much?
100 football helmets.
Oh, that's nice of them. Okay.
I had to tell you that.
Well, to make sure that you test them that they were good. That's what I want to make sure, that they were still good and up to date. Okay?
Councilman, I'll be honest with you, I'm not here to defend the indefensible.
Yeah.
And I'll be
You
clear
can't
that I have
defend that.
already told everybody that
You
that
can't.
needs to increase. That's one of the community benefits that we want to see
You
happen.
can't defend that.
So we have already made that pitch in having that discussion with them and others.
Thank you.
So just want to make sure that if they do business with the city of Cleveland, we're going to be expecting more. So just to let everybody know
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
the expectation. Thank you. Councilman Brian Casey.
No, I get to say is ditto.
We increased the weights.
Yeah. As you can see, who's on certain people's Christmas card list right now. All right, Councilman Kerry McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to speak in support of this ordinance and the great work that Muni Football does. And I want to recognize Councilman Starr, who a couple years ago said, wait a second, we should be funding this at a higher level. And it's good to see that, we've maintained that higher funding level than it used to be. I think we doubled it or something like that.
Yeah, we doubled it.
Great program. So again, want to thank everybody involved for the good work, and keep up the great work, and look forward to fully supporting this, Chair. And I'd like to be a co-sponsor of this.
Could we please add Councilman McCormick as a co-sponsor, and anyone else? Any opposition to everybody at this table being a co-sponsor of ordinance number 309-2024? This is the $160,000 allocation to Muni League football. Does all of finance want to be a co-sponsor? No opposition, please add all of finance as a co-sponsor to ordinance number 309-2024. And Mr. Record, don't just use us to come to the table to ask us for this allocation. If you want to get a few of us together and we need to make calls and we need to be lobbying other corporate sponsors and other folks, we're here to lend our support for that too, because we know how important this program is to the city of Cleveland.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Councilman Harrison, did you have a closing remark?
Yes, just to let the members know, Councilman Starr will be passing around the PIF to kind of get them a few more dollars to help them out with the program.
And I'll be anteing up on that, and once we get a PIF, that means that basically everybody has discretionary dollars, and once we all get that PIF, then we all can put some discretionary
More money
dollars
in for
in on top of what you guys are already getting here. So you got some more that'll be coming your way too, okay?
If I can
Yes,
add
if you
something.
could, please.
This past year, I was able to raise around $75,000 for helmets. And that's something that we will continue doing as a league. Because if I could talk for a minute here with this, we have coaches. I get a lot of complaints about coaches on the corners with the kids collecting money, begging for money for equipment. And this is something that we really need. I have volunteer coaches out there with families and jobs, and they're out 3 to 5 days a week coaching our kids, and then take time to go out on the corners and beg for money for equipment. So I do need help.
I totally agree with you. Here's what I would ask: who writes grants for you? I know I met with Cloud last week. Who's helping you write your grants?
I'm looking at a couple of people now who's helping me. I will get that information
Let me
to
know,
you.
because I want to be of help, Joe, and I can help make calls, do whatever. We all want to. We'll put together a group of people to be helpful to advocate for it.
I really appreciate
because
that.
government can do so much, but we can't do it all. And I'm trying to get everybody to realize that that's the challenge, and that's Polinsik's point, that we need corporate investment in some of these things like that too. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Keep up the good work. Thank you. One of the unsung heroes in Cleveland. All right. Who? Any other guests?
No guests. We got
Okay.
one last piece of recreation.
What you got? 306.
329.
I got 306 and 329.
Yep, 320. We can do 329.
So 306. This is ordinance number 306-2020.
We do 329.
329.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ordinance number 329-2024, as amended by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to employ one or more professional consultants to provide security services at indoor and outdoor recreation facilities, including but not limited to recreation centers, outdoor pools, and various surrounding play areas for a period not to exceed 1 year.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Thank you, Council President.
Let me read the amendment. I apologize. The amendment states there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. 1, in Section 2, Line 1, after shall, insert not exceed $2.4 million and shall, dated 5/6/2024, signed by Vishnu Ganglani, Assistant Director of Law. Please proceed.
Thank you.
Amanda Shepard.
This legislation is to hire security providers who are qualified companies with experience of interacting with children and a thorough knowledge of security services to increase safety and security at our various city recreation centers, outdoor pools, and surrounding play areas. In the past, the last contract was about $1.2 million. We've asked for an increase of $2.4 million, and this did go through Budget Committee. And the reason for that increase is that we are doubling the amount of service that we provide. In the past, we have 4 hours of coverage. Now we want to go to 8 hours of coverage at each of all of our recreation centers. With that, I do want to hand it over to Commissioner Gibson Tanner, and we can entertain any questions that you may have about this piece.
Yeah, through the chair to the committee. As Director Laird indicated, previous contract covers 4 hours, which was Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock to 8, Saturdays 2 to 6. This contract will allow us to do security at recreation centers and pools from 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock Monday through Friday, and Saturdays 10 to 6. covering the total operations of our recreation centers.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Assistant Director. Alrighty, so I've got 329-2024 as amended, went to Municipal Services and Properties, Councilman Bishop.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we vetted this morning. We fully recommend it for passage.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mike Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to my honorable colleagues and to the Assistant Director, to the Commissioner. I always expect when people come to the table here, because you're at the legislative body and legislative table, to provide us as accurate information as possible. So my question to you two gentlemen are this, and is this. If you were to sum up, give us a general summary of the safety and security of our rec centers, what would you tell me and tell my colleagues?
Through the chair to the councilman, if I'm hearing your question correctly, if you're talking about today's safety at a recreation center, I would say that based on what we experience in society, and you're talking about public facilities,
yes,
having security officers in place, having metal detectors in place at our recreation centers, pretty much aligned with what we're experiencing through our society today.
Okay. But I'm going to make a statement, and if I'm incorrect, please tell me. I believe that the majority of the problems that we're dealing with today in our city are not in our rec centers.
Through the chair to the councilman, I would totally agree with you. But at the same time, we know being public facilities that can stem to our recreation centers.
And that's why I'm one of those members over the years, as you might recall, because you've been around a long time, that has always advocated for security at our rec centers. I thought, to me, it's an insurance policy, and I believe it's a stabilizing effect, too, when people walk in a rec center, especially older folks, that they see security there, because I think, again, it's a stabilizing, creates a stabilizing environment. Yes. But I'm trying to understand, do you folks keep internal records as it pertains to arrests or problems at rec centers?
Through the chair to the councilman, yes, we do have those numbers, and those numbers are pretty low.
Okay, so you would have them like for last year?
Through the chair to the councilman, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask through the chair to staff if we can get those numbers for the rec centers as it pertains, and I don't know how you have them broken down, if it's by arrest or criminal act or reported criminal act or whatever. I'd like to see for all of our rec centers and outdoor pools, I'd like to see statistics for the rec centers, because as you know, to the Commissioner Assistant Director, we have spent a substantial amount of money funding violence reduction programs outside of this in our rec centers. And I'm trying to figure out, is always stay on top of this from a standpoint of doing our due diligence. Are we having an impact? If we're not, should we do something differently at our rec centers? But I'm just trying to get an overall view, Mr. Chairman and my colleague, of the safety and security of our facilities. Again, both indoor rec centers and then outdoor pools, which again, I think is important that we have that presence. And again, I'm here to support the legislation wholeheartedly. Who had it last year, the contract?
Through the chair to the councilman is Safe Choice Securities. They currently have the contract through August 31st of this year. And so this is for the contract period of September 1 through August 31st of 2025.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Were you satisfied with this company?
Through the chair to the councilman, they have had some challenges.
They have had some challenges.
Yes, they have.
So you're going out for bid?
That is correct.
Okay. And again, I'll ask you, not for a discussion at the table, I'll ask through our chair and our staff, if you could allude to us what are some of those challenges that you've experienced with them. I want to make sure our kids are safe. I want to make sure our families are safe. I encourage people to go to the rec center. I'm at Collinwood Rec Center all the time, and I visit there all the time. I sometimes say it's my home away from home, stopping in, saying hello, see how things are going, et cetera, et cetera. I'll be there Wednesday night for a meeting. I want to be assured that all of our rec centers are safe. And once we get into the outdoor pools will open when?
Through the chair to the councilman, kickoff will be June 8th, that's Saturday. Kickoff will be at Caruso Pool. And then officially that week, Wednesday, so that's the 10th, the 12th, is when we'll be looking at outdoor pools.
Caruso is whose ward?
Caruso is Joe Jones, Ward 1.
Joe Jones? Yeah, make sure he doesn't wear a Speedo when he shows up, okay? Okay, so, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Plensick, for putting that image in our heads. Any additional questions on ordinance 329, Councilwoman Spencer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I will also echo my thanks, eternal thanks. Okay. Briefly on it's interesting to know through the chair that that this will be going out for bid again. I would just add, I know that there was quite a bit of discussion about this during the budget as well, about the question of adding these services and budgeting for these expanded services. I would just say, in my experience walking in, is the vendor advised as to how to treat the public, right? You are there as a security presence, but you are also the face and the very first impression that our children and residents have when they walk through the door.
Yes.
And it's an armed individual.
Yes.
And so that is that's extremely important too.
Absolutely.
And so I'm interested through the chair to know, with the going out for bid process, is that part of the criteria? This outside vendor is effectively the face of our Recreation and Resource Center.
Yes. Through the chair to the councilwoman, yes, part of this is looking for good role models for young people, being able to encourage and engage with young people to join the safety forces. So this is more than a authority at the front door. We're looking for officers to be engaged, to be able to interact with not only the children but the adults. So yes, that is conveyed through the RFP process, yes.
I'm glad to know that. Ideally, they would become, even though they are an outside vendor, they would function as a member of that team and build those relationships. So look forward to following the program along. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any additional questions on 329-2024 as amended? Hearing none, 329-2024 as amended is approved.
All right, thank you,
All
everyone.
I got for you, right, Director?
All right.
Last piece, 306.
306, it was hiding. All righty, 306-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to exercise the first option to renew contract number RC 2022-25 with Rumpke of Ohio for the transfer, disposal, and processing of recyclable materials. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Chair. This piece is for the processing of recyclable materials to sort, separate, bale, and prepare collected materials to be recycled. Ordinance 195/2020 was passed on March 2nd, 2020, for a period of 2 years with 3 one-year options to renew. But this first exercisable renewal has to be given through a legislative authority. So passage of this legislation will allow us to continue the current contract that we have with Rumpke, Ohio. I have with me Oriental Brumfield, who is the city's recycling coordinator, but he's also over our sustainability for the department. So I will, if you have any questions specifically to that, I'm going to open that up to the council for now.
Thank you, appreciate it. I think just, I know this went to committee, but an overview for this committee on how the program is going. You're seeking to authorize a first-year extension, so that tells me that you are happy with the service, but if you could provide a general overview. This is obviously critically important to our residents to bring recycling back to the city of Cleveland. So I would love, before I turn it over, well, not here right now, but to my colleagues, a kind of snapshot on how you view the program.
All right, so to the chair, since the program started, we have gotten 75,000 households signed up for the program, so I'm pretty proud of that. We have sent for processing more than 11 million pounds of materials that we've saved from the landfill and now has gotten recycled. Our contamination rate, currently right now, we have done two audits on that contamination. The first one, we had a 15% contamination rate, which was really, really good. But at that point, we only had about 30,000 households signed up. So now that we've more than doubled that, the contamination rate has gone up. It sits at 25% right now, and we're doing some things to work on that. The vendors' limit before we get fined or anything on that contamination is 31%. So we still have a little room, but we're working on bringing that back down. So I think that's the snapshot right now.
Okay, appreciate that snapshot, and I'm curious too. Is it an educational approach to reduce that contamination? Are you finding that you're having to use enforcement? Can you speak a little bit to that?
I find that it's to the chair. There is more of education that needs to happen. Now that we've added all these other people, I kind of expected that it would go up some because now we kind of have to reinforce that education that we've done before. And I have not been out there as much as I was in that very early term. So what we're doing now is working on more of that outreach, that direct, going to wards, going to different block clubs, going to meetings. I'm going to see if I get someone else to help me so that we can have more of a presence out there. I can't do it all by myself. But it's all about education right now.
And if you could please resend any materials that you've got, I'd love to include them in my newsletter. Just the do's and don'ts of recycling.
Yes.
I'm sure council members would be happy to help distribute that information. I know I would. So.
Absolutely.
All right, Council President 06-2024 recycling. You've got Councilman Plencic.
Councilman Plencic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the Assistant Director. Your title is, you're not a commissioner, correct? No, okay.
No. Recycling coordinator.
Recycling coordinator. Okay, you indicated 75,000 households in the city are presently recycling. That has the stickers on their blue containers.
Through the chair, yes, sir.
Okay, how many households are there?
From the records that we're using, the number that I know is about 150,000 that the Division of Waste services.
Okay, so about half.
Yes.
So 'cause I look at my own street, and I'd say about half have the stickers and half don't. So when you indicated about a 30% contamination rate now, when that truck comes in the yard and that load is contaminated, what happens to the load?
So through the chair, what happens? Well, first of all, the contamination rate is 25%.
25, excuse me, okay.
So when the truck comes up there, they're not evaluating all of that right there. Some people do think that they're doing this evaluation and leaving stuff and making that decision right there. When the truck comes, they put it in the truck. Unless there's something just grossly wrong, sticking
Okay.
out of that can real bad, it's going to go in that truck.
Okay.
All right, and the process after that is it goes to the transfer station. There is a small sorting, not necessarily sorting, but we look at it. And we look at that load when it comes out of the truck. If there's a portion of it that's looking pretty bad, we'll push that portion over, save the other portion to go to the vendor. And the vendor's process is all about separating contamination from what's good.
So Rumpke does the separation at their facility where?
They actually have several facilities. Loads first go to a facility that is in Seville, Medina County. That's the first one where it goes.
Okay.
Right? And they'll run all that through, separate what they can, and then what they did not find useful actually goes on to Columbus because the facility at Columbus is a little more advanced than the one in
Right.
Seville, and they can actually glean through that and find more stuff that's actually useful.
Okay, so going back to Council McCormick's line of questioning or statements as well, it's one of educating our citizens better as to what goes in and what should not go in. And I know myself, I wash the bottles. I'm into this because I was doing it, recycling when I was a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, collecting newspapers and all that stuff. So I totally believe in it. But I'm also surprised on my own street, which is all homeowners, not transient folks, that only half of them have bought into the program. The other question I continue to get with regard to plastic bags. And we know that it's one thing for little plastic bags, but then there are big plastic bags that you buy stuff in or fertilizer, this and that. And I'm looking at products and I'm looking at different materials and I'm reading stuff saying, well, made from recycled bags, made from recycled bags. Why can't we recycle bags?
All right, so through the chair to the councilman, made with recycling content is a whole separate process than something that we can actually recycle. So the idea with the mixed recycling is we put everything in that one can. And then at the facility, what they do is they have all kinds of machinery to pick it out so that you have a pile of each one of those types of things. Plastic bags don't really go through that process well. They get caught up in the conveyor belts, they fly around, they get wrapped around machinery.
Okay, so it's one of the mechanism in the process that prohibits from plastic bags going in a recycling bin and recycling cart. Okay, well, okay. Finally, I would hope that you would come up with a process to recycle political signs, because I had to pick up enough of them, these people running for office, to just leave them all over my neighborhood. And I give the steel to my son, who takes it to the scrapyard, but the plastic that goes over the steel frame, and what do you do with that?
Through the chair to the council, there is a program with the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District where they will take those signs and they will recycle those properly. The metal in one place, the plastic in another. The city doesn't pick up for that. The resident would have to actually drop it off at the solid waste district, but they would handle that.
So, again, I won't belabor the point through the chair. If you could send us where those plastic signs could go to, please let me know.
Absolutely.
I got a bunch of them I can take there, okay? Thank you. They're in the back of my pickup truck. Right.
Chair, would you like for us to send it through the chair?
Yeah.
Through Mr. Titron, yep.
Titron, okay.
Mr. Titron at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I'd also note, too, and I don't know if we've got an idea of where these are. I know Dave's in Ohio City has a plastic bag drop-off container, so I don't know if those are throughout the city as well, but just if we know where those are, where you can recycle the plastic bags.
Yes, and through the chair, the councilman, those things, and when you can go to like the Giant Eagle, or even if you walk into Target, if you walk into several stores, you'll see the boxes for the collection of different things. So the ones that collect plastic bags go to companies that only do plastic bags. So there's not the process of having to sort that from everything else. So if you want to recycle plastic bags, whether it's a bread bag or a bag from the cleaners or any other plastic bag, pliable plastic bag, it would go into that kind of process, usually outside of a grocery store or at some retail location.
I've also found success in electronics. I know Staples will take used electronics and properly recycle them. So, and then the best way to recycle, Commissioner, is, what's the first R? Don't consume it in the first place. Don't consume it in the first place.
Exactly.
So if you don't need to consume something, a bag or an item, that's the best way to recycle. Don't consume the darn thing in the first place. So thank you. Additional question? Yeah, Councilwoman Spencer.
This is a spirited discussion about plastics, and I very much appreciate that. I do have another question through the chair about plastics. Folks in my ward who are participating in the program, a vigorous debate going on about whether certain like cups, disposable cups and other types of plastic items, are those considered recyclable, or would they actually contribute to our contamination rate? Because I think that's an interesting, people who are paying attention have a disagreement about certain types of plastic items.
All right, so through the chair to the councilwoman, the plastic cups, as far as plastic cups, I know that on our sticker it says clear plastic cups, but actually it's any color plastic cup as long as it is not a solo cup. That's the only thing. If it's a plastic cup, solo cups are your only thing that's off, right? This is because solo cups are made from the wrong kind of stuff, right? They're made out of polystyrene, which is the same thing as styrofoam, which doesn't have a market on the back end, right? So if you have any other plastic cup, as long as it's not a solo cup, you can put it in there.
However, through the chair, solo cups are contamination.
Solo cups are.
Whereas others are not.
Solo
Okay, well,
cups
this is getting deep.
yeah.
All right, I'll remember this. I will pass this on.
And again,
Yes.
Councilwoman, don't use them in the first place,
That's right.
That's the real way
yes,
to
this is very
to
true.
reduce that.
Thank you. All right.
Are there any additional questions on 306, 2024?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Hairston.
So, all color solo cups, blue or red? I'm joking.
All right, through the chair to the councilman, any solo cup does not go into the recycling.
That's it? All right. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 306-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last but, no, not last, I apologize. We now have two guests from Economic Development, so I'm going to ask if Economic Development can join us. As always, I try to get the guest in first. The first guest is the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, if they could join us at the table. And this is ordinance number 398-2024 by council members Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, and emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into an agreement with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland or its designee to assist with costs related to outreach assistance and administration of the UBiz Microloan Fund and assist training and planning for small businesses through the Entrepreneurship Center. And I believe, are you representing?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Tell us who
Chair.
you are.
My name is Jo Rose Bordeaux Small, Assistant Director of Economic Development.
Awesome.
Good afternoon.
You want to announce all your guests with you?
Yes, absolutely. I'm joined here with my team member, Afoma Izebwe, Project Manager. I have to my right Mrs. Marsha Maccabee with Urban League and Mr. Obi,
Awesome.
Michael Obi.
All right, please proceed.
Our department has, as of the end of March, approximately $9 million of UDAG repayment funds available. That is supplemented. Yes. No. Yeah. That is supplemented by council with $3 million, of which 1.8 goes to different economic development organizations within the ecosystem. Those entities provide us with technical assistance that we're not able to provide within the department, and also allows us to kind of grow the pot and the money available. We are currently redesigning and restructuring the department. We're hiring a deputy director of business growth who will help us maximize the way that we work with our partners. We are also hiring neighborhood investment managers, Rosie being the first hire, very exciting. And they will help us, market the resources that our partners provide us with. And so with that said, I'd like to pass the mic over to you all to talk about the work that you all do.
Okay. Thank you so much to the chair. We are happy to be here to talk about this partnership, and I really am happy to call it a partnership because I believe that the Urban League of Greater Cleveland is really an economic responder partner with the city. Not only do we come asking for support, but we often bring match funds to the table. In some of our other programs, we have gone out and raised dollars to match city dollars. So we see ourselves as a real partner in economic development around the work that we do. We also try to leverage funding that's given to us. For instance, on this particular program, while we have funding to do this work, we have worked in the Rebuild the Land project without any funding from that department. So we leverage the work that we do as well. So we think that you get a great return on investment by working with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland in terms of leverage dollars and additional dollars that are often brought to the table. And we have presented, we have numbers if you have questions about that. Michael Obi is here, my partner on our revolving loan fund and on the resources that go directly to the Entrepreneurship Center, where we do the technical assistance and support for businesses, which is the way we're able to really maximize the number of deliverables that we provide on this grant and others with our minority businesses.
Okay. Did you want to respond to anything, Mr. Obie, as well? Or Mr.
No, I think Madam President covered it all. I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I have Hairston first. This went through DPS. Councilman Hairston.
Yes, Mr. President, this was heard and vetted in DPS. On your tablets, you do have a copy of the presentation that was presented at the DPS meeting. So you can find that presentation there on your tablets in front of you. Also, last week, Mr. Titron did forward to you all responses that we received back from the administration after their discussion with Urban League and also our friends of Jumpstart who will be coming up right behind them. And that was sent to you all as well for your review. It also listed some of the questions that we asked to be responded to from the committee. Mr. Obie and President Maccabee did go through about their process, their procedures, and how in which and what type of folks they support. It really gave us a in-depth, picture of how and what they do at the Urban League, and our committee fully supported the piece for passage. Thank you. We ask you for your passage today.
Thank you. Councilman Kerry McCormick, Palencia, Conwell, Casey.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. I had the pleasure of hearing this in a couple of other committees, but wanted to speak in support of this legislation. The Urban League has just been a constant, great partner to the city of Cleveland and the important work that we all do in the community. I've talked about over the years specific examples in my ward in which the Urban League has been instrumental in helping open new small businesses. So appreciate the department's role in ensuring that this is funded. And again, Chair, I want to speak in support of 398 to allocate this funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Councilman Mike Palencic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to Ms. Maccabee and Collinwood Railroader. Good to see you as always, and your team that is here. Of the maybe this you provided of the 31 businesses. Did you have a list of the 31 businesses? Were those provided to us?
Yeah, we have the lending side.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that, but we don't publish it because for privacy reasons.
Yeah.
But we have.
So
the
could you
names.
tell, again, not here at the table, but if we requested, could you tell us who the new businesses created at 31, who they are,
Yes,
where they're
yeah,
located at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the addresses.
Yeah, and if there's a contact person, because again, if it's, I think all of us would like to know that those new businesses and how we can interact and maybe help them if they needed help in the future. The whole issue of job creation is so critical today in our city because every job created is another form of revenue for our city. We all know that. Of your interaction, because you're trying to assist businesses here, you're indicating your total economic impact, loans obtained. What's been your experiencing? What your experience has been trying to get financing for new businesses in this city?
Well, that's why we do this work. It hasn't been easy. That's why we started our own internal funding. We raised capital, and we started doing lending because of a lot of small businesses go to traditional banks that are highly regulated. They are not ready. They don't have all their financial statement together. So we've been helping them to get their house in order so they can qualify for traditional capital from commercial banks. Okay. So we have a fund through the UBIZ Venture Capital Fund to be a bridge while we're getting them ready so they don't get discouraged. Right. We'll give them some bridge loan so they can stay in business until they're fully ready.
So you're doing a lot of hand-holding, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really the secret sauce.
Because one of our concerns, growing concerns in the body, and my own personal concern, is what I want to refer to as redlining. People can't get loans. Businesses can't get loans, can't get capital This is a big problem in our city. And yet we have major, look at the major banks we have here in town. And where our city, where we deposit funds, our own city funds and institutions, we want to make sure that they are providing funding. They're providing loans for our businesses and for our new entrepreneurs in this city and helping existing businesses. So I would hope, because the council, during the chairman's meeting today, the council president mentioned as well his concerns about the CRA. So I think what I'd like to see is to keep us apprised through the committee chair, Councilman Hairston, what banks are not providing the help. We need to know what banks are helpful and what banks aren't. Because I think we have to use a little muscle on them. Because, again, it's about investing in our neighborhoods. And when you continue to hear people cannot get loans, and I'm just not talking about mortgage loans, which we know that's a fact, that they're redlining in the city, but businesses, because the bulk of the businesses in our city are small businesses.
Yes.
And we need to help them, and we need to, provide whatever kind of support mechanism that we can out there. And if we have institutions that are restrictive or not helpful, or providing or creating roadblocks, then we need to know who they are. Because I think we're going to get deeper into the weeds there on these banks that are not assisting our folks, our businesses, our residents, et cetera. So I make that offer, and I would hope you would take us up on that offer.
I would definitely take you up
And be
on that.
engaged with the committee chair, Councilman Hairston, and the council president as we get into this whole issue of Community Reinvestment Act. I mean, I think this is important for the Urban League, because if we could get more banks at the plate, it's only going to help you what you're trying to do. It's only going to help you and businesses in the long run.
To add, through the chair to Councilman, the other thing that I think is important to note is that while we know that SBA regulations for banks are rigid,
right,
and we have some banks, though, who come to us and they say, while we can't change those regulations, what we can do is to try to work with the process that you all are doing to help people to become bankable. And they work with us in those programs. They also lend support into the loan fund that that we have here for our patient flexible capital that we try to give, where the content of the minority business owner or the character is considered equally as important as the credit score. And so we're trying to model for these other businesses how it is that we can make good loans. And when you look at the number of loans that we have that have been good loans and that have not gone bad, we can say to them, you can loan to these businesses by character and still have a good business model. So I think those are things that we can do. I think to your point about calling out what I think would be profitable for all of us through the chair to the councilman is really creating a model, number one, and encouraging banks to be more flexible and to work with us in a way that gets a win-win in terms of community investment and CRA for them as well.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to recommend.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair Hairston, any additional comments on 398?
No additional comments, Mr. Chair. Fully support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments on 398, 2024? Councilman Conwell.
Yeah, thanks for putting me back on, Mr. Chairman. I want to see, matter of fact, I will be at the Urban League on the 14th.
Yes.
All right? And are you showing, is this at the Urban League where you have the classes?
Yes.
Okay. And you showing them how to put together a business plan?
Yeah, that's one of the workshops. We do many workshops, but business plan is a major component of what we do, yes.
All right. And you show them how to review it, or you tell them what accountant can review it for them through the chair?
Yeah, The work we do is really hands-on because a lot of the businesses never done business plan before. So they'll walk in and spend all day. They leave the workshop with a completed business plan. So there's a computer lab, they have a laptop. If they don't have tablets or laptop with them, we provide them one. And we have instructors, we take them through projection because, for a business plan to be meaningful, it has to show financial projection. So we do that. That's what our SBDC, which we are the state of Ohio SBDC for Cuyahoga County. So we have a director, and that's what they do, helping them complete a business plan.
So when you look at the business plan, I'm trying to look at one right now, you look at their P&L through the chair, the profit and loss statement?
Yes, sir. And the balance sheet, sales projection. Because this is really, what we do is really having businesses start business the right way. A lot of people just do it. Business is a science and also an art. But the science piece is a big portion of why small businesses go out of business, because they did not put together a plan, which is a roadmap. What is your pricing of that product? What are the costs? To make sure you're making profit, that you're not pricing it the wrong way. So the business plan is really what...
understand more than that. You got to understand the inventory control,
the whole 9 yards.
FIFO, LIFO, what kind
That's
of
right.
inventory you're using.
Yeah.
A majority of your business through the chair is your cost of labor.
That's right.
And you got to be able to control costs constantly, do preventive maintenance, the whole kind of piece. I just want to be nosy and see it, your P&L, your profit and loss statement when you show them. And how successful are you when the businesses, when they go out, let's say for retention, let's say you put out 12 businesses, and how many of the businesses stay afloat? The chair.
Okay, that's a great question. A lot of studies been done around businesses that receive this type of service. You see a lot of statistics where 90% of business startups go out of business within a year, 2 years. SBA have done some studies where the reverse is the case. When they use the service and they do the homework, they do the business plan, they keep their books in order, they come to the workshops, their longevity is much greater, 3 times better than when they did not. So that's kind of a study that's been done. Most of the businesses that we lend money to, they're able to pay back if they stay connected with us. And we continue to give them technical assistance before things go bad. If they're having issues, we're there with them to help them work it out before it gets bad.
I would be, you know what, if, and I'm not trying to teach the course.
Sure.
I would be on top of my profit and loss statement every week. Every week, you got to manage it because things shift on you. Like if you're managing a restaurant, you want to look at that inventory, your food costs, and those kind of things, because it could shift on you with your business, and that labor can shift on you also. But if you look at projections every quarter, it might be too late. So you got to look at projections every week. And then if your product isn't moving, you might have ordered too much product. Your inventory would tell you that story. And then I would also do, when you mention marketing, I'll do my LSM every week also, constantly, my local store marketing, to make sure I get my product out.
That's right.
A lot of businesses in my ward, they don't know that. Because I can walk into a business and determine is that business successful or not, because the inventory would tell me the story, and it's the way they're setting their fronting up.
Sure.
Because then that fronting, like you set your merchandising up, if it's not set up right, your shrinkage is going to happen, and that's going to affect your bottom line as well as your inventory. And I walk in, I read the whole piece. In my ward, I say this: we need help. And when I come see you guys, being a councilman, I mean, I see it, but I can't
You could send them to us.
Yeah, I can
That's,
send you guys.
that's what we
And
do.
I tell you something else, what businesses mess up on. When you train your employees, they'll leave spillage on the floor, and if somebody trip and fall, that insurance, which is on the balance sheet, will affect your outcomes as well.
That's right.
Because you can get sued. When you get sued, that'll touch your P&L, that'll come off your books.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, I want to see it. I just want to see it.
Well,
I'll be there on the 14th.
Okay.
Through the chair to the councilman, let me just be clear, because we want to be ready for you, Councilman. And we thought we were getting ready for you for RAFC
Right.
to review. So I just want to be sure.
I do
what-
both. I
Okay.
can do overlapping. I can do overlapping projects, man. I'll do both.
All right.
You know, it's fun. It's fun for me.
Okay.
You know,
Thank-
and then I can be nosy.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, great director.
Do we have anybody else? No. All right, seeing no other questions, and I just want to say you guys are doing great work. I looked at your presentation last week, outstanding. And I actually forwarded somebody, I know, listen, I will call Ms. Maccabee in a heartbeat, that's my sister.
Sure.
But I know she'll also take the call, but is it better to have them call Michael, since he's the intake person?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that I
they
don't
can
just
call-
bombard her, because I know she gets
That's
all
okay,
of
you
the
can
calls.
call me. Yeah.
Okay, because I have a person that's, when people are doing projects, somebody wants to do a housing project, but they also want to do workforce and entrepreneurship training.
Sure.
And I said, you need to talk to separate people for that.
That's right.
So I'm pushing your way, okay? All right. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 398-2024 stands approved. Please sign off. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Keep up the good work. And at some point in time, I know Conwell has continued to work with us on racism as a public health crisis, so we want to make sure we stay on top of that as well.
Chairman,
Yes, Councilman
maybe
McCormick.
added to it as a sponsor to 398.
Could you make sure that Councilman McCormick is added to that? Thank you. All right, next up is ordinance number 401-2024 by Councilmembers Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Jumpstart, Inc. or its designee to assist with costs related to providing technical and financial assistance to Cleveland businesses. Hello, everyone. Please proceed.
Thank you again, Chair. I have with me, to my right, Lauren Novick and Mary Paxton of Jumpstart. I just want to note a couple points of success. The aim for the 2023 grant was to assist 80 small businesses, and they were able to assist 133. They also aimed to assist 40 Latina, Hispanic entrepreneurs and small businesses, and they were able to hit 60. And so those are just some of the successes that we've had with Jumpstart.
Good afternoon to the chair, Councilman Griffin, and to the committee. Thank you for your time and for your continued support of Jumpstart's small business services efforts since 2018. My name is Lauren Novick. I serve as the Chief Services Officer for Jumpstart, overseeing all of our small business services, our small business capital, and our services to tech startups. After our presentation to the Development Planning and Sustainability Committee last week, we were asked to provide additional information, which we provided prior to today, with relating to some data around the city of Cleveland and some data around our tech startups. Today, Mary Paxton, Senior Director of Advancement, and I will highlight the impact of our work specifically with small businesses, along with data related to our tech startups and investment activity in the city of Cleveland.
To the chair, to the committee, thank you for having us this afternoon. I just wanted to highlight the additional information that we gave you to in regards to, well, first let me say, to highlight Jumpstart's mission again, which is really to take entrepreneurship and transforming our communities, and we really do that through being able to provide services, connections, and capital, not only to small businesses, but to tech startups. And so the additional information that we sent you in regards to that activity, I just wanted to highlight while you have that information. We also broke it down by race and gender, but we also wanted to highlight the fact that our proposal to you is not to cover those tech startup services. It is for additional information. Our proposal to you is really to cover the small business work.
Thank you. And when we share the data related to Jumpstart's efforts in the small business community, our metrics specifically with the city are to focus on those businesses that we provide intensive assistance to. So we become very focused on providing what we define as intensive assistance, at least 5+ hours of service with the small business clients that we work with. We track all engagements, but the outcomes that we have committed to and shared prior to today are related to those clients that we provide a minimum of 5 hours of support services from Jumpstart. I do want to mention that additional data that we provided today related to payroll data for the businesses that we work with and their payroll data related to the city of Cleveland, revenue data related to those small businesses, and then we provided jobs data as well.
And just in addition to that, for the other information that we regarded around our investment activity, we also want to highlight that does not come from Jumpstart Inc., the nonprofit. Our investment activity actually comes from the division of Jumpstart Ventures with us. And over the last 4 years, we have been able to invest over $13 million in the city of Cleveland in our tech startups. And we've also divided that up into, on your slides, your race and gender activity.
Great.
Okay. All right, Councilman Hairston, this was heard in DPS. Did you have any follow-ups?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this was heard and vetted in DPS. We passed this, fully supportive. The presentation that was presented at DPS is also on the tablet here in front of us. Again, we asked for a number of information to be provided to us that was provided by Jumpstart through Department of Economic Development, which also was a part of the email that Mr. Titron sent out to all of the members of DPS and Finance as well. As you can see, they've exceeded the numbers or the goals that were set, by the department. And I know that the department, in addition to members of council staff, will be having continuous conversations with Jumpstart and Urban League about how do we move forward, what does it look like, service provided, et cetera. So in addition, their presentation does provide the number of support touches, highlight impacts per ward, but we're going to ask for kind of more detail for each ward that kind of, as we ask for Urban League, with the actual business and who operates that business, or particular new businesses in the neighborhood as well. All right? Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions regarding 401-2024? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 401-2024 stands approved. I have a question for the Assistant Director.
Yes.
Wasn't that bad, was it?
It was not.
It's your first time at the table, right?
First time. The first time was a little rough, but this time around was great.
You
Nice
did a
and
good
easy.
job. I wanted to tell you that because I did see that last time. I wanted to tell you it's not that rough as you think.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Chairman. I extend the same congratulations. Is it your first time running the table?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go. Congratulations. Mayor, you were at VSJ for a while, weren't you?
Yes.
I'm like, I know you and I have known each other for such a long time.
Yes,
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I was telling Lauren when we came in, I remember when I got the job at BSJ, you were the first person that emailed me and said congratulations. And I
That
will
is
always
so fun. I'm
remember
like,
that.
that is great. Well, I didn't know you were with Jumpstart now, so congratulations. It's so good to see you. I really enjoyed working with you back in the day, so good to see you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you once again, and keep up the good work. All right? Thank you. Good to see you again. All right? Okay, public safety, if you can come to the table. Hold on 1 second. Multitasking today, Chair. Director, I apologize.
Good. How's everyone?
I'm doing okay. All right. First things first is have another guest, and we'll let her, Director, you can introduce her in a minute, but this is ordinance number 105-2024, as amended by Councilmember Griffin, Polisic, Jones, Kelly, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety to enter into a grant agreement with Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County, Inc. to carry out the public purpose of providing community outreach to educate people about the Crime Stoppers process in order to increase reporting of crimes and improve public safety in the city and surrounding region. Director, and please introduce your guests.
Sure. Good afternoon, and thank you, President, Council President. To my right is Patricia Meehan. She is the Executive Director of Crime Stoppers, Inc. She's here to answer any questions relative to this ordinance, which is number 105-2024.
All right. Why don't you just start out, just tell us, you don't have to go, if you could pass out your handouts, and we'll make sure everybody gets one.
Absolutely.
And just for a record to everybody, while she's pulling those together, this was a council-led initiative that we actually wanted to do something around, and I'll get into my part in a moment, but we wanted to do something around giving an opportunity for people to be compensated whenever there's a potential crime committed. And I'll go into context in a minute after Ms. Meehan puts that together. Ms. Meehan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Council President, committee members.
Please talk into the microphone.
Oh, sorry. Crime Stoppers is the anonymous tip organization here that's utilized by the citizens of Cuyahoga County, 90% of which is through Cleveland crimes. We are a tool that's utilized for the citizens if they're scared, or if they don't want to get involved, or if they're motivated by reward money. And those tips directly go to all law enforcement then to solve crimes and make the neighborhood safer. What I have found in going to community meetings at the districts is that the citizens of the community, they aren't aware of how our system works in many cases. After I speak at these community meetings, I get a lot of questions as to the anonymity portion. They want to know, is it really secure? Our call center is in the state of Texas. It's not even here. We don't have caller ID. We don't record phone calls. Our web tips, we don't have any ability to track IP addresses. So it gives me that ability to get out there and explain to the community how it works in hopes of increasing our tips, solving more crimes with law enforcement, and making the community safer. This legislation is key in getting out there and advertising and educating the community.
Thank you. And just to some context in this, last year, and of course, every year, there's times when we have shootings and we have things that happen in the city of Cleveland. And last year in particular, I know when the West 6th Street shooting took place, there was reward money that was put out there. And that led to the capture of a suspect, and I think a subsequent two arrests. But my point is, one of the things that this council thought was important is that we wanted to put some seed money in order to be able to expand our ability to put out reward money that the city of Cleveland helps support and sponsors. So, I wanted everybody to understand the context of this, that this works, everybody. If you just ask people to just do it on their own, sometimes they're a little leery. They have a little less concern. But this also has multiple tools and multiple ways. Not only do they need to call in, they can actually be anonymous, they can text. It has several ways to really reach people besides the Cleveland Remembrance page. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood the context of how this is helping us in our overall safety strategy. And I'm glad that we have the safety director and I believe the chief's support. I'm not sure, but.
To the chair, absolutely, both Chief and I.
This is very important, and I really hope that the only way this succeeds is if we all market this, so whenever anybody does any kind of crimes in our community, we know that we have a tool that they can tap into in order to get reward money for being able to report crimes. I believe this is a great game changer, and one of the reasons why many of us put forward, okay? But if you could, tell us the ways that you communicate with the public and how it generally works. I mean, you don't have to give us all of the trade secrets, but give us kind of a flow. Blaine Griffin, you know, Kerry McCormick beats up Blaine Griffin or something else happens, and then, you know, Brian Casey calls Crime Stoppers. How does that work?
So if Councilman Casey calls Crime Stoppers, that call would go into our call center in Texas. We pay for a computer system, software system, that gets entered in. Now, no offense, Council President, but if he just beats you up, that's really not an urgent matter.
I'm trying not to be graphic as I really need to be,
No,
but
I
if it's a
understand.
homicide that takes place.
If it's something that is urgent, if someone has called in and they know of a threat against a school that's happening real time, the call center dispatchers are trained to call Cleveland Dispatch right away. It's not enter in a tip and send the tip to me and I send it to law enforcement. They are trained to call dispatch real time with that information and then put the tip in. If it is on a felony, they enter that tip into the computer software. The tipster that's calling in gets a tip number. They're only identified by their tip number. That's their name now. They keep that tip number. They're told to call back in 45 days, to check back in 45 days. Now, they can either call the call center in 45 days, or if they put it in as a mobile tip on our mobile app, they can log in and check for status. If it's a web tip, they can also do that. In 45 days, they can check back, just using that tip number. If that tip led to an arrest, they'll then be told to call my office. When they call my office, I tell them that their tip is eligible because I've gotten a disposition back from law enforcement that, yes, we got a tip and you did it. And I go before our board of directors. Our board of directors then votes on that tip reward as to how much that tip reward is worth. The tipster calls me back, we set up the reward payment. The specifics of that I can't go into for security reasons, but I will tell you this. In none of those steps, none of those stages, is that tipster exposed. The anonymity is, sealed.
Well, and that's important because we know a lot of people don't tell for fear of retaliation.
And a lot of people don't trust that.
And a lot of people don't trust that. And so, we wanted to add extra layer. We want to be able to give people the tools. The only thing I would ask is, I think our video team should actually get you on record of how this actually works. Because the biggest thing that everybody's going to have is to trust the process. And I think you being someone who is a third party to basically explain the process will go a long way. So let's think about how that looks. And I know our communications team can maybe talk through that with us, okay? All right. I don't have any other questions. Councilman Michael Polinsky, I know you relieved this out of safety. Did you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, to the director and to the representative of Crime Stoppers, we had extensive discussion on this subject. We asked a whole lot of questions, and it was clearly the unanimous support of the Safety Committee to pass the legislation on. And we've also asked for them to put together some information that we can put in our newsletters as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we want to be a partner. We don't want to just pass this and then walk away. We actually want to help implement it, advertise it, put it out there. Many of us have social media. Many of us have databases. Many of us have newsletters. So there's multiple ways that we could push this out, and we just want to be a good partner. Are there any more questions on ordinance number 105-2024? As amended, I got to read the amendment. I apologize. Thank you, attorney. Knew I was forgetting something. There is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. In Section 2, at the end, add RQS 6001 RLA 2024-41. And this was dated 4/17/2024 by Stephanie Melnick, Chief Corporate Counsel. Can we get a number that we can reach out to you, Ms. Meehan? Do you have cards or a number? She's going to give us a number. And then just for the record, Director, I know you know this, but to the listening public, what is the number to Crime Stoppers?
We're going to give it to you right now.
216, the easy way to remember
Yes.
it, Council President, is 21625-CRIME, which is 216-252-7463.
So once again, 216-25-CRIME. To the listening public, 216-25-CRIME.
And my business card.
And please make sure that we sign up. And I'm going to give Ms. Meehan her cards because if you got any questions. And then I know our press team is watching. Can you guys get her number? Because I want to make sure that we do something on video with Ms. Meehan at a very short period, okay? All right. Thank you and appreciate it, Chief and Ms. Meehan, or
Thank
Director
you.
and Ms. Meehan.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, ordinance number 414. Oh, hold on, let me get these out the way, a couple more of these. And remember to send us some graphics. And Inez, can you just reach back and tell them that if Joan can come out to meet Ms. Meehan? Ms. Meehan, can we just at least hook you up with Joan so she can have your information and we'll set up something later? So if you could just tell her to just hold on for 1 second if you could, okay? All right, next ordinance is ordinance number 414-2024 by council members Polinsik and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of ballistic vests for the Division of Police, Department of Public Safety for a 1-year period with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Safety. Director.
Thank you, Council President and council members. If approved by council, ordinance number 414-2024 would authorize the Director of Public Safety to enter into one or more requirement contracts for the purchase of ballistic vests for the Division of Police. This legislation would authorize the Division of Police to purchase ballistic vests for police academy recruits and current police officers in the amount of $705,000 and will be funded through a capital project, bond funds.
That it?
Yes, sir, that's it.
Okay. Director, just a couple of things. What is the lifespan of a ballistic vest?
Council President, that's 5 years.
5 years?
Yes, sir.
So is it by contract or is it by lifespan, or how do you make a determination on how often we need these?
Council President, that's a great question. That's by the manufacturer, and 5 years is the lifetime for the ballistic vest.
So what do you do with the decommissioned vests?
To the council president and other council members, the vest are several things. The officers can keep the vest because it's theirs. The vests are made specifically and tailored specifically for each individual officer, so it's their vest. They keep those vests, and then they'll get a new vest. Also, if the officers do not want the vest, they return those vests to the Division of Police, and in the past, we've donated those to our partners through the Department of Defense and sent them overseas.
Okay, and the reason I've asked that, because I know in the past, there was some liability issues with if community partners or community groups like Peacemakers Alliance and street outreach workers, if they were to receive some of those vests, that there were some concerns about if something did happen, then, and those vests do not operate the way that they're supposed to, then the city may be liable. Is that still the reason why we don't work with some of our community partners? Because some of them are out there risking themselves and they don't have guns and badges. So just out of curiosity.
To the council president, again, we do not recommend individuals taking the vest without signing some sort of waivers. When we do partner with the Department of Defense, there are waivers that are signed relative to the life expectancies for these vests. And again, that's what the warranty is for the vest is 5 years. That's what the builder, the manufacturers will guarantee is the 5 years after that. Again, there's no guarantee. And if we do give the vest away, we do have waivers that must be signed.
What is the unit cost per each vest?
To the chair, that's a good question. I wanted to make sure I was prepared. The cost for the vest, that's the entire package, is $1,435.50.
Okay, so when you budget for a police officer, because it's my understanding that a police officer costs about I think, what is it, Mike? Last I checked, $107,000 per. So around $110,000. Let's round it up. So is that one of the costs that you usually anticipate when you're budgeting for police officers?
To the council president, that is not part of that cost. That's separate. There's a there's a different line item for that. This was approved for historical perspective. This was approved back in 1996 from the city. Made that decision to pay for vest, and it's not part of a collective bargaining agreement, but it's not part of the numbers that you gave initially, the financial numbers.
Okay, and the reason I asked that is because I always thought that it was the amount for the salary, the 35% for fringe and benefits, and then the equipment. So you're telling me that certain portions of the equipment is not covered under the unit cost that we're usually given for police officers?
As I stand right here talking to you now, Council President, that is correct. I will double check on that, but I know that I signed off as the chief last year in a different line item relative to the cost of the vest.
Well, that would be good to know, because part of the reason, and I forget where we're at, Mike, about 1,270-something officers, and we're looking at 1,400 per vest.
Chief,
We
those
are-
about 1,100 and what, 40?
We're currently at 1,193 officers as of today.
That includes the cadets.
To the chair, I believe so.
Yes.
And the reason that I want to, thank you for that clarification. The
Yeah.
reason I want to make sure that I understand that, because I'm really trying to drill down on how much does it really cost per unit for a police officer. And the reason that that's important to me is because I think we could have got 100 in the academy. I'm just not sure why we didn't get 100 in the academy, because I know attrition is going to make this last class of, I think we're at 48 now, because I think we lost about 4 people.
To the council president, we're currently at 46.
46. So
wow.
we're down to 46, so we lost 2 more. So between people dropping out of the class, between attrition on the police department, we have a serious concern about how we're ramping up. And the reason that I want to understand what the equipment costs are, because I want to know where I want a better comprehensive look. And I'm really charging the chairs with doing the deep dive to understand all costs associated with the operations, so that we can have a clearer picture as we move into next year, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Polinsky, I know this was
Yes.
in safety.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to my honorable colleagues and to the director, we heard this, had a lot of questions, reinforced your concerns. We want to make sure our men and women in blue are equipped with the latest and the best equipment possible. I just want to think that when you, I think the discussion, the comments you just made a moment ago, I think when we said equipment, it was, if my memory serves me correct, in the day, the equipment was their uniform and their sidearm.
Okay.
And that's what was the equipment. It wasn't anything above and beyond that.
Got it.
The cars, vehicles, and all that was a separate thing. I would only ask again, and if need be, I will put it in writing. We had donated the previous vests that came back to us. We donated them again through the Department of Defense to the Ukrainian government for their defense forces, and because they were desperate for ballistic vests. And I would ask the administration to please consider doing the same, and if need be, I will do a resolution or whatever we needed, as we did last time, Mr. Chairman, with your support. I would ask again that the bulletproof vests, ballistic vests, be donated to the Ukrainian government. Thank you.
All right.
To the council president, to Councilman Polinsky, we will take that under advisement. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 414-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm going to do a walk-on real quick because I know that Chairman of DPS has to make another move. This is ordinance number 406-2024 by Council Members House Jones, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor and the commissioner of purchases and supplies to sell certain city-owned property no longer needed for the city's public use located at 1848 East 101st Street and 9910 Woodward Avenue to Gordon Crossing Land Company, LLC, for purposes of future development. And I believe we have Mr. Green that's going to present for us today.
Yes.
And this is really just cleanup language because we had to clean up a couple of things, didn't we? Or did it get back to us late from commission? Because this is actually, we just walked this on, right?
Mr. Chairman, this was from the Planning Commission
Okay.
on Friday.
All right. Let's proceed.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, and members of the committee. So the packet that you have in front of you, this piece is about the transfer of 2 parcels of land for the Gordon Crossing Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Project. There are 2 parcels in the Upper Chester neighborhood of Huff. And so the first page that you're looking at on the packet is just for orientation purposes, which shows where the project will take place. On the north side is Woodward Avenue. On the east side is East 101st Street. To the south of that is Newton Avenue. Newton Avenue being a historic district. So the parcels that you're looking at on the page shows the land assembly for the project. The green parcels are the land bank parcels that are transferring for the project. The one in red is the parcel that the development group already owns. And then the 2 parcels in the lighter green, excuse me, are the 2 City of Cleveland parcels that we're transferring for the project. 057 is the parcel on the right, and 084 is the parcel on the left. And so we're here because those 2 parcels have to go through a legislative process as opposed to the land bank, which already has legislative authority to transfer those parcels. The project itself is a 56-unit low-income housing tax credit project. So as you go through the pages of the presentation here, there are a couple of pages that show what will actually be built on the parcel. And they're looking to break ground this summer. It consists of 56 units, 42 of which are 2-bedroom, 12 of which are 3-bedroom. And then there's an AMI mix, of which 10 units are 30% of the area-wide median income, 2 units are 50%, 4 units 60%, and 30 of the units are 70% AMI. And then there are 8 market rate units. And so this was heard by DPNS, and so we're here asking approval for the 2 parcels to transfer.
Okay, Councilman Hairston, this was heard in DPS. Did you have any comments?
Yes, Mr. President, this was heard in DPS. The director is correct. It's here, as he noted, because these are not a part of the land bank, just parcels that we own. This is not uncommon. We've done this in the past. The reason we had to walk on today is because this just went to Planning Commission on Friday. We did hear in DPS, it went on to Planning Commission on Friday, and it got back to us very late on Friday. And so after speaking with council legislative staff and the clerk, deputy clerk, the best course of business was to have this as a walk-on today. I would like to note that the mixed use, this is a mixed-use property. Mixed-use property, more on the affordable side, as you can see from the number of units and the AMI that they are listed as in the presentation. I haven't seen these type of AMIs in quite some time, right? Most people think 80% and 100% are affordable, but when you look at this, setup that they have, one of the comments, or two of the comments that were made by the actual minority women-led development team is that their own life experiences is what shaped this project. Why you have this type of unit mix, why you have these AMIs. And that's important to know. And that is why it's critically important that we support this project, because we need them to do more projects like these across the city of Cleveland. These projects matter, okay? We can't continue to have all projects. We need $1,500, $2,000 rent projects, right? You know, for the city. However, we need more affordable projects to exist within our city as well. And this project is that they have full support of the councilwoman, full support of the community. They provided robust interaction with residents in and around this Huff neighborhood, and asking for the committee for passage today. Thank you.
All right. I know Councilwoman House Jones was here last week to support this project. Do we have any other questions regarding ordinance number 406-2024? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 406-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. I see Kane over there looking anxious. Let's get utilities here.
You made him drop his book earlier.
I know. I see that look on his face.
Mr. President,
Yes.
to Chairman Casey's credit, he did try to get you on earlier, but he did advocate for you. Just want to let you know that.
All right, come on up, utilities. Bring a guest next time. All right, this is, we'll start out with ordinance number 167-2024 as amended by Council Members Casey and Griffin by departmental request authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to extend the lease with City Roads LTD for the purpose of operating the Division of Cleveland Public Power's East Side Service Center at 14100 Darley for a term of 5 years with option to renew for an additional 5-year period exercisable by the Director of Public Utilities. And there is an amendment. There is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. In number 1, in the title, lines 8 and 9, and in section 2, line 3, strike by the Director of Public Utilities and insert with additional legislative authority in both places. This was signed 5/2/2024 by Vishnu Ganglani, Assistant Director of Law. Director.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. This is the East Side Service Center for the Division of Cleveland Public Power. Commissioner DeGennaro wasn't able to, I think, jury duty. So we have Cassie Slansky, Project Manager with the Division of Real Estate, who knows just as much as the Commissioner. Thank you for the Utilities Committee's engagement on this piece of legislation. The importance of the East Side Service Center to our customers is just not easy to state, right? It is the indoor storage of our equipment, of our vehicles, which is important for what we do. Cassie can give the details of the lease as currently known. I know the Commissioner did make contact based on the conversation at the Utilities Committee, Councilman Polensek, and is working to establish that meeting that they're hoping to happen. And Commissioner Danielson from CPP can certainly speak to the value of this location to our customers. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So as the director, thank you, sorry. As the director stated, this will extend CPP's existing lease with City Roads LTD for the East Side Service Center located on Darley Avenue for an additional 5 years with an option to renew for an additional 5 year. It's located on a portion of permanent parcel number 112-27007, which includes the southern half of the building. CPP currently occupies about 97,000 square feet. There's parking area for approximately 75 cars and a 2.5-acre pull yard. The annual rent is $250,000, which will remain the same during the renewal term, as well as if CPP wishes to extend the option for an additional 5 years. And the property is located in Ward 8.
Okay. First and foremost, Chairman of Utilities, did you have any comment on this?
Duly vetted and recommended for passage.
All right, Councilman Polinsik, this is in your area.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, to the director, I want to thank Councilman Casey for his engagement on this issue. We went out there, member of the committee, Councilman Harsh as well, had a good discussion, good tour of the site, and we all came to the conclusion at this point, we really have no other choice except to extend the lease at this location with the hope that I'll be meeting with the owner hopefully soon to address some of the other issues out there. So I wholeheartedly support, and I would ask my name be added to it. Thank you.
All right, can please add Councilman Polinsik to ordinance number 167, 2024. All right, are there any other questions for ordinance number 167, 2024? All right, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 167, 2024 stands approved. All right, next up is ordinance number 373-2024 by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the director by one or more contracts of LED video display boards with training, if necessary, for 5251 North Marginal Road, including labor and materials needed to remove and dispose of the existing video boards and labor, installation and maintenance of the new equipment for the Division of Cleveland Public Power, Department of Public Utilities for a period of 2 years. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. The commissioner is in charge of an LED sign at the Lake Road substation that doesn't work. He is requesting authority to make it work, and the commissioner's happy to answer any specifics on $95,000 for LED if you need it.
Is this the well, where the wells are at?
Yes, it is, yes. Through the chair. Commonly called the whale wall. I think that's the public access area, but it is the sign in front of that building.
Okay, Councilman Casey.
Duly vetted and recommended for passage.
All right. Councilman Polinsik.
Mr. Chairman, what kind of information goes on that video display?
I'd say through the chair, number one and number two is probably safety and marketing as far as topics are concerned.
Okay, can we put city programs to advertise city programs on there as well?
Chairman of the council member, yes, we can. I mean, the content is limited.
Yes.
But we have the similar one at Garrett Morgan on the West Shore Way. So we
Okay.
do put some basically utility-related specifics about Water Week coming up this Saturday, Lineman Appreciation Week.
Right.
Kind of specific to the utility,
Right.
but as a citywide, just communications team,
Right.
it would go through the Office of Communications and
Okay.
Public Affairs if there were something
Yeah,
specific.
I'm just thinking if it can be utilized to promote city programs to the residents. I'm assuming there's got to be well over 100,000 cars that pass that location every day. So going to and from work and home. So anything we can do to promote city programs, I think should be looking at that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other questions? Seeing no other questions, and want to make sure that, what ordinance is that, 373-2024 stands approved. All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Next one is ordinance number 386-2024, as amended by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance and/or Public Utilities to either exercise the first one-year option to renew under the Sustainable Ohio Public Energy Council, SOPEC contract entered into under ordinance number 631-2023, or to enter into an amendment to the SOPEC contract to change the options to renew from 2 one-year options to renew to 1 2-year option to renew exercisable by the appropriate director and further authorize exercising such an option. There is an amendment. The amendment states that there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. Number one, the title, strike lines 3 through 10 in their entirety and insert public utilities to renew the SOPEC contract entered into under ordinance number 631-2023 for an additional fixed pricing for 12 or 24 months. And two, and in line 11, strike option and insert renewal. Number 2, in the first whereas clause, line 2, after contract, insert also known as the membership agreement. Number 3, strike the 3rd, 4th, and 5th whereas clause in their entirety and insert whereas it is the desire of the city to obtain best fixed pricing for its certain electric customers under the SOPEC opt-out program, and to do the city desires to renew the SOPEC contract for another 12 or 24 months, 24 additional months. Number 4, in section 1, line 2, after 1, strike exercise the first 1-year option 2, and strike lines 3, 4, 5, and 6 in their entirety and insert under ordinance number 631-2023 for fixed pricing for an additional 12 months, or renew the SOPEC contract entered into under ordinance number 631-2023 for fixed pricing for an additional 24 months, and it's further authorized to exercise such renewal at direction of the appropriate director. Number 5, in section 2, line 3, after renew, insert for an additional 12 months as authorized in ordinance number 631-2023, dated 4/18/24 by Geraldine Butler, Chief Assistant Director of Law. Director.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. Just briefly into the multiple amendments, we did get, both the Director of Sustainability and myself did get called into the principal's office for the number of amendments by our chairman of the Utilities Committee. It is kind of cumbersome and difficult, but the intention of the administration and why we're here recommending the continuing of this relationship with SOPEC, it was a 1-1-1 requiring additional legislative authority. We're seeking the authority to get a 12-month fixed or a 24-month fixed, depending on what the market bears. That's as simple as I can put it. Certainly, Director O'Keefe is all of the specifics, but from a 1-1-1 to either a 12 or 24-month fixed price, the hesitancy I think that we all felt at the table was that SOPEC didn't have the experience with a city of our size, with a customer base of our size, and we are here to say, I think, and I know that Director O'Keefe and I had a lot of conversations about this, is that we feel as if they have, and that it's in our customers' best interest to continue that relationship. But certainly, Director O'Keefe.
Yeah, I have nothing to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, so you guys actually asked the question that I was going to ask, so I might well get the answer that we was going to ask. So, I mean, why do you believe that they're performing well? Because let's be honest, this was the biggest client that they picked up. And I'm all for companies growing, but I'm more for our residents making sure that we have decent rates. So sure. I just don't want us to get into a situation where this company is in over their head and then we're stuck with a 2-year contract. So I know Chairman has done a great job of vetting this, but that was my original concern that I brought to him and a couple of others. So can you help us understand why you don't believe that that's an issue?
Sure. So the benefits that our residents have enjoyed over the past year have been about over $200 in annual savings, and they have had no complaints that haven't been dealt with. They have had very good customer service, and they have proven all of the requirements that we ask them to through our RFP.
Okay. All right. The only other thing that I would ask, and I apologize, I know I missed the open hours or whatever else. You know, if we went out for an RFP, I know that it's only a few people that do electrical aggregation. Do we know what some of the competitors' rates are right now? Are they still higher than SOPEC's? Or do we anticipate that SOPEC's will be lower than their competitors?
So certainly a fair question, Chairman. And what our intention is to, so as we've talked about extensively at the table, is the indicative price, right? And the indicative price that we're able to obtain on behalf of these customers is based on the market. So our hesitancy to RFP is not necessarily yes, the lowest fixed price is what we've been told by council we're here to seek, but it's also the legislative burdens and the community contracts that have to be legislatively approved before the meter read in July, right? So we're again coming up with a time frame. So yes, the price is market-based. We think anybody who does this should be able to get a fixed price that is competitive. But the flexibility and the opportunity for us between the 12 and 24 is what we determine at the time to be a fair fixed price for a longer duration, means the communications to the customer and the questions to council and to us as to what is this and why are we doing this, that's what we're trying to minimize, right? That's the RFP process, and going into a different direction, you start over with the opt-out and with those legislative burdens. And I mean, so there was two parts that I heard to your question. The fixed price is market-based, right? It's an indicative price that anybody would get on the open market. But two, the reason to continue this without RFPing is the burden on the customer. The customer themselves receiving the letters, the opt-out letters, calling their council members and the Office of Sustainability and SOPEC and anybody else that bid on it to once again put them through what is this and what do I do that we just went through last year.
Right. So in a nutshell, the continuation of services not to be interrupted, but still guaranteeing getting a fixed price market rate. Correct.
Okay, got it. All right, Casey.
Mr. Chairman, I've been dealing with this for a year and a half now, probably going on almost 2 years, so it's been duly vetted and recommended for passage.
All right. Any other questions regarding ordinance number 386-2024? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 386-2024 stands approved. And I want to make sure I say this. I want to commend Councilman Casey for how he does his committee. A lot of people don't realize this, but the reason that he's successful, and a lot of people say, well, why don't you ask and give Kane a hard time at the table? Because there's so much vetting that goes on before you actually get here. And that's how it actually should be done.
Trust
me. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. Casey does, Hayes, Kane, Ford, and everybody.
Both Director and O'Keefe can tell you that it's...
But everybody believes we give Kane a pass because he was once one of us.
Kane doesn't get no pass.
But he doesn't get a pass.
I'm waiting for that day.
All right. Okay. Take it easy. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director. Appreciate you guys. All right. Next up, Capital. What is Health Director here for?
Oh, I'm not sure. David, which one are you here for? I'm waiting for Councilman Connell.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
He's here to politic.
All right. All right, this is ordinance number 332-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects on behalf of the Office of Sustainability to apply for and accept a grant from the United States Department of Energy for the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant Program, determining the method of making the public improvement of designing and constructing various types of energy efficiency improvements on up to 6 neighborhood resource recreation centers, and authorizing the director to enter into one or more contracts for the making of the improvement. And there is no amendment. Director, please proceed.
Yes, good afternoon. I'll start out this presentation and then introduce Director O'Keefe, and she could give more details and introduce her team as well. But as you mentioned, this legislation is in partnership with the Office of Sustainability, and there's a grant being offered by the Department of Energy. It's called the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant. And this is a formula grant, which means we're entitled to a certain amount, and this is the $386,000, which we have to apply for. And this would be for energy efficiency upgrades specific to the power at certain rec centers. And the reason why this is important to overall city goals and also goals of the Office of Emergency Management is that this will really enable those centers to be closer to being resiliency centers in times of emergency when there's too much heat or too much cold. It's just one part of the process to get certain centers up to speed. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Director O'Keefe.
Sure. Thank you to the chair. So this was really a cross-departmental effort. I just wanted to introduce my energy program manager for the Mayor's Office of Sustainability. This is Mike Bean, sitting to my right. He has worked with property management and emergency operations to look through the different rec centers and to consider what might be good options for this power conditioning and potential commissioning. Out of 22 rec centers, some of which were cooling centers or heating centers, or also served as crisis services annexes or sheltering annexes. These are designations by American Red Cross and emergency operations. Then we have the opportunity to do up to 6 different rec centers with this funding. And we'll take any questions if you have them.
Okay, once again, I'm gonna ask the Casey question, because I can. The roofs, are the roofs in good enough condition, and are the properties in good enough condition to actually put them out there? I know that Casey, I think, did an inspection on a few of them, so I just wanna make sure that that was one of the concerns that I know the chair had, and I wanna make sure that we did get that rectified and make sure that we understood that.
So yes, so we did work with property, to the chair, so we did work with property management to ensure that there are no major renovations, including like a roof renovation, for example, would be considered a major. So the recreation centers that have rose to the top for these surveys, these initial surveys, do not require roof replacements.
Okay,
And Mr. Chairman, this is not solar on roofs.
so this is different?
This is not.
It is different,
Sorry.
yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
So
This is just
where-
power conditioning.
So this is mainly just like generating having like a backup generator almost?
It is actually, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike for more specific questions in a second, but it is to make sure that the power that is going to the equipment inside the building, so HVAC equipment, for example, is not having any power spikes so that it doesn't interrupt the operation
So
of.
this is an expensive surge protector?
Yes, well, there you
Yes.
go.
All right, I got
That's
it.
surge
All
protection,
right, go
exactly.
ahead.
On the incoming power.
I
On
got
the
you.
incoming
Okay.
power. That's
All
correct.
right, that explains it. I got it.
Okay.
It's pretty much a surge protector, and to make sure that we
The
don't
ups and the
burn out
downs.
some of our infrastructure, because a lot of times when we have storms and other things, it puts those surges throughout the house, which damages equipment, HVAC, everything else.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
And then the next step for that would be commissioning of that equipment,
Okay.
further commissioning.
Casey?
Mr. Chairman, this actually went through municipal services and properties, but I would ask, though, that in the future, if anything utility-related could also run through utilities, but Councilman Bishop heard this in municipal services and property. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we fully vetted this morning, and we recommend it for passage.
All right, any other questions? Councilwoman Spencer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to clarify the relationship between this piece of legislation and the concept of warming and cooling centers. I want to make sure I understood
Sure.
this point. I think it's really important for climate resilience, so I want to make sure I understood.
Yeah, certainly. So a number of our centers, recreation centers, serve as cooling centers for the viewing public for when it gets too hot outside. Basically, the heat index passes 105 degrees. That's a combination of how humid it is and what the temperature is. We open cooling centers, and recreation centers extend their hours. So a number of the recreation centers here operate as cooling centers. They also operate as what's called crisis or sheltering annexes in case of an emergency. So if there's an emergency, a sheltering annex is where a recreation center would be a gathering space for large amounts of people. A crisis center annex would be where you would have family reunification and victim identification. So we being mostly Mike here and emergency operations, to look at all of these rec centers to see which ones we could build additional resiliency into so that they will be available in case of an emergency, but also just regular operations and protecting the surges for the equipment, so everyday operations, but this additional resiliency also. And this puts us on a path. The point is that this funding will put us on a path and methodology that we've been working on, that Mike has been leading for other recreation centers to have the same. So this is a proof of concept.
Great. And then just to clarify through the chair, do we have the list of recreation centers that are on the short list?
Yes, I can
I
say
think
them
I'm-
out loud to you if
yes.
you want.
Yes,
Sure.
please proceed.
So out of the 22 rec centers that were sheltering rec centers, crisis annex centers, we have Fairfax Recreation Center, Estabrook Recreation Center, Michael Zone Recreation Center, Frederick Douglass, and Collinwood Recreation Center. And these are put into the grant. We might not be able to do all of them, but the grant application asks that we identify property by property. So we want to make sure that we have those identified. When we do a survey, we might find something that would have us go to the next location.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 332-2023 stands approved. Please sign on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now, last but not least, the Casey Plan. Ordinance number 391-2024 by Councilmember Casey, an emergency ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Law to fully enforce the provisions of Ohio Revised Code Section 9.67 that imposes restrictions on the owner of a professional sports team that uses a tax-supported facility and that receives financial assistance from the state or the city. This is a council-sponsored piece. Councilman Casey, did you want to go into any detail?
Mr. Chairman, there's a state law that protects cities and tax-funded stadiums and the taxpayers from professional sports teams just up and moving out of a city. And this piece of legislation will encourage and direct the Director of Law to make sure that he fully enforces 9.67 of the Ohio Revised Code. I just want to reiterate, this has nothing to do with a dome or not a dome or anything like that. This has to do with staying within the city of Cleveland as opposed to moving outside the city of Cleveland.
Okay. All right, any other questions regarding this ordinance? Councilman Mike Polensek, 391-2024.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, I wholly support Councilman Casey's ordinance here. It speaks for itself, and I believe it's very critical for the city council to make it very clear where we stand on this issue. When we think, and I've been here when the first vote was taken, when you think of the amount of money that Cleveland residents provided to build that complex, the stadium on the lakefront, and how we sacrificed, and to see what we're possibly being confronted with now, the ordinance is well deserved, and I wholeheartedly support it.
So I want to say also that I do support my colleague in his efforts to really push this forward. As council president, he and I had a long conversation about this. We have had several conversations with the administration as well as the team, and we want Cleveland to continue to benefit from having a professional sports team. Of course, we always want to look at the details in the deal, which the administration is in the process of working through with the team. There's some other things that I think that we can surmise from this that is an ongoing conversation. It's still flexible, and it's still a lot to be worked out. But I do believe that this piece of legislation really just reiterates and makes everybody remember that we put this in place for a reason. And this was to try to prevent anybody from leaving our central business district or leaving the city of Cleveland. And one thing that I'm a big proponent of is respecting the work of past councils, because they put this in place for exactly what we're dealing with today. So kudos to Councilman Casey, and I am a supporter of this as well. So this will be heard for the whole body tonight. Is there any more questions regarding ordinance number 391-2024?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Casey, would Councilman Casey entertain any co-sponsors on that?
Councilman Casey?
Anybody wants to co-sponsor?
I would ask to be a co-sponsor.
All right. All right, I'm gonna let Polensek do that. We're all gonna hear it and vote on it tonight, okay? All right, anybody else? Anybody else? All right, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 391-2024 stands approved. Thank you. That being said, this Committee of Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is adjourned until the next call of the chair on Monday, May the 13th. Thank you.